Hello, and welcome to The Fool and the Philosopher.
The Philosopher and The Fool.
See, Twitter's algorithm leaked, or it didn't leak. Well, I think it was open sourced, but yeah. I'm pretty sure it leaked.
It leaked and then he open sourced it, so an ex-employee leaked it and then he open sourced it.
But I imagine if you hire someone for Twitter, they've probably had experience working at YouTube or Instagram or something like that. So I imagine they're actually quite similar. Yeah. So that was making me think, it'd be interesting. I don't know how you would be able to do this properly because you wanted to shift your channel around. But if you were if you were consistently doing what you've been doing, unsubscribe from like half the people you're subscribed to, maybe more, and then just double down on not having a single spelling mistake or made up word or even just a game name or a Tolkien term, something like that, in any of your titles or descriptions, and see if that gives you a boost. Because on Twitter, I don't know if you looked through
I didn't.
The more people you follow compared to who follow you, the worse it will recommend you. And if you have any spelling mistakes, it'll tank your results massively.
Really?
So the lowest result you normally get for a word they don't like is a 1. If it's a misspelled word, it's a 0.01.
Sheesh.
And if it's a made-up word, then it's also a 0.01.
Huh.
So if you use a word they don't recognize, it's tiny. And they also had a section for misinformation.
I don't have many spelling mistakes in my titles.
But even if you do something like, say, Thaumcraft, let's say.
Yeah.
This is Twitter, of course.
Yeah.
But it's that's not a real word, so we're going to get rid of, downrank that word. And some of the things, it's really, there's some people that have done great videos on just summarizing it.
Yeah.
It's interesting to look at.
No,
every person that blocks you completely tanks your...
I mean, one of the bizarre things of YouTube was pointed out recently by Spiffy and Britt of how you can murder other people's channels.
By recommending them. Yeah.
Yeah, by advertising them to broad audiences. And that's the thing, actually. I know about this to an extent where, someone would come onto my Discord server and say, "Hey, everyone, please subscribe to my channel." It's just starting out. No, you don't want them to do that to you because the probability is they probably won't like your content. And if you have subscribers who aren't viewers, that's actually worse for you.
Yeah, I don't get the whole, if you're not subscribed, please only 40% of my viewers subscribe. It's that's a good thing. You want to be having new eyes in all the time.
Yeah. And it used to be different. It did used to be different, but YouTube changed to basically you barely see your subscriptions unless you go to the subscription tab, and it sort of shows it to you if you very much curate and change how YouTube works, but it doesn't give you notifications anymore, even if you use the notification settings. There's a huge amount of things. So subscriptions is literally just a number now to a certain extent.
I think the less subscriptions you have, the better it works, because I get every single person I'm subscribed to.
Yeah.
But in my subscriptions tab. And I also get them popping up all the time. But I don't get all of them instantly popping up in the recommended. But I don't expect them to be there anyways, because I expect them to be in the subscription area. And so I do wonder, it could be machine error, it could be shadow banning, or it could be human error, where people are just not noticing because they're subscribed to 100 or 200 people and they don't see.
Well, I will try that unsubscribing from basically everyone I'm subscribed to.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Because I should just purge it anyways, because there's just people I don't watch anymore. So, and I honestly, if I'm not thinking in my head, "Ooh, I want to go search for this person and find the video," then to sort of do I really actually watch them then?
And I wonder, see, if I was making the algorithm, I would give you a boost for every person that recommends your channel. You know how you can link channels in your page?
Yeah.
Except I would give you a penalty that was worse than not being recommended if it was reciprocal. The reason I would do that is because then you could just make a ton of channels.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, reciprocality makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I really think YouTube needs a feature, desperately needs a feature. Instead of removing useful features all the time like they do, they need to add new features.
Or making it so when you click the thumbs up, it wobbles and goes through a rainbow cover just for a little bit more serotonin.
So what they desperately need is a way to manage multiple accounts with one account. So that you can have one channel in charge of others. I think you can give command of channels to other channels.
Because of how Google accounts work, I have all of our all my channels, and the Phil and Philosopher, I have all of them.
Yes, but you're just switching accounts. It just has all the stories.
No, I actually did think about that because like you think about like a broadcaster, right? So like Nickelodeon Kids, and they had like a bunch of different shows, and it's like this one's on at 7 p.m. This one's there, and it's sort of they had their different appeals. But instead of like for YouTube, there's this very much a thing of your channel is one thing, and if you dare deviate from that one thing, you're going to have troubles. Mm-hmm. Unless you're so big that the channel is based on you instead of the things you do.
Yes.
And so having the ability of, all right, so this is Fool and Philosopher Incorporated, and these are Fool and Philosopher's animations, and these are Fool and Philosopher's podcasts, and this is Fool and Philosopher's gaming division.
Yeah. No, that'd be very...
Because people do that, but those channels are very dispersed. And
it'd be nice to have the ability to also... I think you used to be able to subscribe to playlists. I don't know if you can anymore. But it would be nice if people could subscribe to your channel, and you could, with the help of the YouTuber, they could put in some tags, and then you could choose what sort of things you saw. Mm-hmm. For example, if I would subscribe to Short Fat Otaku, if I could subscribe only to his political philosophy videos and not to his live streams or to his reaction videos.
Yeah.
And those are three very distinct things that he could very easily just mark up.
Yeah.
And then I could subscribe to him happily and not get those. And it's the same with, everyone's talked about this with The Escapist, where it would probably have twice as many subscribers if it was only 0 punctuation on there.
Yeah.
And same with Pitch Meeting on Screen Rant. Yeah. Everyone was just subscribed to Screen Rant for Pitch Meeting. Yeah. And a lot of people weren't subscribed because they didn't want to see the rest of Screen Rant stuff.
And that's why they split.
So they ended up splitting them, which probably helped both channels.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if... and also if they didn't penalize you for people not watching the videos they don't want to watch.
I had the bizarre experience of... So I posted a Battle Brothers video, and the Battle Brothers watchers just came back out the woodworks. However, they came back the way they always do. It's so weird because usually, like, when I post my how-tos, it's not so much anymore, but it used to be like, get this huge amount of views, and then it'd slowly go down over time and, like, stabilize out or whatever. But with the Battle Brothers, I post a video, and it's like, this video is performing about, like, right in the middle. It's like, out of your last 10 you put up, it's number 6 out of 10. And then, this is your number 1 video, and this is 48 hours later, because the Battle Brothers viewers just like, oh yeah, alright, I'll watch Battle Brothers now.
They just keep on coming slow and steady.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's different audiences, and there's also people...
But it's like the Battle Brothers videos will only watch Battle Brothers on my channel. They will not watch any of my Minecraft stuff.
Which means you're hurting yourself to not have a Battle Brothers channel separate from your main channel. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of silly, because I'm sure they don't mind, and I'm sure your regular viewers don't mind the fact that you're doing both.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Samuel Streamer, he does Crusader Kings and RimWorld on his main channel, and I'm not watching Crusader Kings at all, and so that's going to hurt him because I only like half his videos is what they think. I like 100% of his videos, just only the ones I want to watch.
Yeah.
And he releases 2 videos a day, so on that channel. So it's not like I'm only watching him every other day even.
Yeah.
I'm watching him every single day, but they're like, oh, they only like half your videos, and they shouldn't be punishing you for that. But what I really think you should do at the end of the day is open source all the social medias like Twitter, YouTube, and whatnot. But then, much more important, because the problem with an open source algorithm is that people can manipulate it. So now people are all going to be playing the Twitter game, and people are going to be looking at Twitter and they're going to be thinking, this probably applies to YouTube, so I'm going to be playing the YouTube game. And people have been trying to figure out YouTube and play the YouTube game for a long time.
Yeah.
And it kind of kills creativity because people are more focused on playing the system than making interesting things. So what you do is you open source everything, and then you give it to each individual person with a UI and a series of sliders and variables, and you say, make the algorithm you want. Because the main thing that Twitter does that I really don't like is they have a machine learning algorithm which groups their entire user base into little bubbles.
Yeah. And the bubbles never the twain shall meet.
So if you post something so let's say you're a political commentator, and you post something that the My Little Pony group, let's say, would absolutely love. It will kill that because, no, you're a political commentator. It won't show it to anyone.
Well, do you know what the old YouTube algorithm was?
Whoever has the most gets shown, plus a bit of random thrown in or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, this is good. Like, literally, their old algorithm was, this is watched, recommended. And so, the Yogscast actually talked about this. Lewis was talking about this, how they would get to number 1 on the trendings tab. Sometimes they get to number 4. And it's like, that video was watched, and everyone liked that video. And so it was watched, and because it's on the trendings tab, everyone saw it. And there's less people on YouTube at that time, for certain. But it's like, that was their heyday. And what Lewis was saying is, people just liked their stuff, and so they watched it. However, when all the algorithm stuff came out and changed, it's like, well, this has to be very specific to, oh, do you like this thing? Do you like this thing? And also Lewis talked about how YouTube tried to kill gaming for a while. And he like points out all the things they did to try to kill gaming through their algorithms. And it's like, but gaming was good on YouTube because people like gaming. That was just a fact. People like gaming. So he didn't have to have separate categories. Things like, oh, gaming's good. Okay, that's on our...
And here's another overlooked downside to having this algorithmically reinforced bubble, right? How do you look for new music?
Yeah.
You listen to the radio because you can't control the radio and the radio is random.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with YouTube. You won't discover new interesting things because it won't recommend them to you. It'll keep showing you the same stuff.
That's actually why Spotify's music is far superior to YouTube music. So YouTube music plays what you've selected before.
Yeah.
And it gives you just like what's safe, what you'll go through. Spotify's music system, you create a playlist with Spotify of the songs you want, and so you put it together. And then Spotify goes, okay, so these songs are liked by these people, and I look at other people's playlists that have these songs, and they also have these songs in it. And so it'll go through your playlist. If you turn on shuffle, then it goes through your playlist, but then it'll throw in other songs similar to those.
Yeah, but that's still a problem. That's what I'm talking about. That's staying within your bubble because it's showing you what you like. You will, if all you listen to is pop music, you'll never learn that there is a whole world of rap that you love.
Fair enough.
You'll never learn that there's this whole world of Mongolian throat singing that you're really into. And YouTube and Twitter, they do this as well, where you don't get to, like, for example...
that is fair, because with old YouTube, it was, this is good, check this out.
So you see this with channels like Mr. Samuel Streamer and Bob Gimlin for me, where I was never recommended any of their videos ever.
Yeah.
They've both been around for 4 or so years. And then I happened to stumble across them, and I wanted to see every single one of their videos, and I never would have. But when you listen to the radio on a sort of broad station, not a specific, like, this is the blues station or the rock station, but a station that's more just the popular song at the time, you actually get a much wider variety of topics, and like a talk radio too, you get a much wider variety of topics than if you're watching podcasts on YouTube. Everything's going to be the kind of thing you listen to, so it's going to be all political, or it's going to be all like real crime, or all Bigfoot stuff, something like that. And now, thankfully, the biggest podcaster is Joe Rogan, and he has a huge variety of topics. So he's kind of mixing that up there. But for the most part, it doesn't really work. And I think the massive solution to algorithms, and also extremism, because algorithms tend to polarize and radicalize people, the solution is just to let people be in control of their own algorithm. Because then you can have people say, okay, I don't actually, for example, on Twitter, likes are worth a huge amount of points for your comments. So if people like it, it's going to get recommended like crazy. If people share it, that's pretty good. That's like, so I think likes are like 100 times the exposure. Retweets are 10 times the exposure.
Is a view just one exposure?
And I don't know what that is. But then a comment is +1. So one's like 1 times 100, one's times 10, and the other's +1. And for me, I would much rather read something with a huge amount of comments.
Yes.
And I don't care how many people like it or retweet it. I want to see engagement. That's what I'm interested in. Now, maybe some people are more interested in just something that has a lot of likes, because the things that have a lot of likes are going to be the funny videos you don't have to think about, and you just look and you go, oh, that's fun, that's cool.
I really like the idea of having your own algorithm, of you have sliders and you get to control basically how it's going to algorithmically play with you.
I've noticed this. I've been watching a lot of Pipkin Pippa videos.
Yeah.
And I've noticed this in the comments of the clippers. People clipper videos and they
Yeah.
do comments. They get a huge amount of comments. So they get like 1,000 comments per video, let's say.
Yeah.
But nobody is replying to anyone else.
Mm.
Then you go and look at a Sitch and Adam live stream, and they actually end up getting a lot. They get like 600 comments or something. But the amount of first level comments they have maybe 60,
Yeah.
maybe 30. And then there's 20 comment conversations going back and forth constantly everywhere. And I much prefer that.
Yeah, and then you go to a lore video that discusses Star Trek versus Warhammer, and there is 100 comments, each one that's like 1,000 threads long of people arguing.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing I want to see. So that's what my algorithm would point to. It'd point because when people argue or they just discuss things back and forth, you get to see a much broader picture than even from a single person, right? So if a person posts a comment that you think you either disagree with or it seems wrong or it seems bad, and you say, hey, I disagree with that. And they say, oh, no, sorry, I meant it like this. Like this is only true in this circumstance, but it's not true in that circumstance. You get to see the people stop being two-dimensional characters. They become caricatures. They become a much more fully fleshed 3D person. They become real. And I think that actually prevents people from polarizing as well, because you realize that the person that you disagree on this very little wording, essentially. You disagree on just the wording of a statement and maybe one or two of the finer details, but you, in general, would get along with them quite well. But if you only see the first order comments again and again and again, you're getting a very shallow view of that person and a very shallow view of the conversation in total. So you're not seeing any depth or pushback on your ideas, and you're not learning anything.
I just thought of a very bizarre model to change YouTube to, which was, you're out of video watching credits. If you'd like to watch more videos, please leave at least one 100-word comment that receives 5 likes. I was just thinking, because you're talking about you get to see what people are like. And so,
No, I swear I've been to websites that do that.
well, Reddit has that to an extent of you cannot post on this place
with karma, yeah.
until you have a high enough karma. And
But there's an issue with those incentive structures where, well, with Reddit, what you do is you want to post a bunch of racial slurs in the political place, so you go and post a bunch of puppy videos and cute, and then you get all the karma, and then you can go and happily do your racial slurs in the whatever place. And a lot of these incentive structures encourage people, well, you see it on YouTube even, where people say, I'm commenting for the algorithm. That's a useless comment that isn't contributing to anything. And that's another thing that would be great with the choosing your own algorithm, is you couldn't play to the algorithm.
yeah,
No one would be able to, especially if, now I think what they would do is they would give you a default that they say, this is going to give you the best results, and then tweak it to your heart's content. But I think what would actually really make YouTube a much more creative place would be if they gave you a randomized algorithm. They said, all right, your variables are random, you're going to get wacky videos until you fix it, but maybe you'll like it. And what you do, this is something video game...
Or they could just base it on their old algorithm, which was the best things best.
Right, but that still gives you... that means that things won't get discovered. You're going to have the number one video is going to be watched half the time, and then everything else is going to be exponentially dropping off from there.
I guess.
And
They probably had some small discovery thing as well.
Right, but that's instantly, once you put in that discovery, that's where everything falls apart, and that's where everyone's fighting for SEO. Mm-hmm. So if you make the discovery completely random, that would definitely help.
Yeah.
But then you're going to get, well, yeah, if you just have completely random discovery, I think that would also work. You're going to get recommended tons of videos you don't want to see. But it would work. But what they're trying to do, keep in mind, is maximize profit and viewership, which means they want you clicking on every single video you see. Because if you go to YouTube and there's the people you like, and so you watch their 2 videos, and then all the recommended are cooking channels, and you don't care about cooking channels, then you're going to be done and happy. And now I think that's a much healthier YouTube.
Yes. Because
you shouldn't be incentivized to stay on.
Yeah.
The way to avoid addictive behavior, especially with online and, with digital spaces, is to only do that which you seek.
Yeah. That's why I was saying earlier, I should unsubscribe from a bunch of people, because I should only be viewing what I'm seeking out to watch that day.
So, one thing that people recommend on phones is only turn on your phone when you know what you're going to do ahead of time.
Yeah.
And don't even make it as broad as I'm going to browse the internet. Make it, I want to look up this fact. And then you look up the fact, then you close your phone, turn it off, and then you go, I want to play Candy Crush. Then you open your phone, you go to Candy Crush directly. And so one guy I saw, what he did was he deleted all icons from his phone, except, and then he put the search widget on as the only thing on his page.
Yeah.
So every time he wanted to do any feature on his phone, he had to type into the search
There's
bar
an app
what he
now
wanted
that
to do.
actually does that. You install it onto your phone, and it does all that for you.
I mean, it's not that hard to do anyways, but
Yeah, that I mean, people are.
seems like it'd almost be harder to set up the app. But yeah, if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with a computer, actually. Steam has actually made this kind of annoying because you go to Steam and you find the games. You don't have a bunch of discs in front of you and you say, oh yeah, I want to play this, and you grab that disc.
Yeah.
And there is also an aspect to it which is tricky, where you say, I'm really feeling like I want to, blow off some steam with some sort of action game. It's like, what action games do I own again? And then you go to Steam and all of a sudden you're browsing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of an issue there. But at least the browsing is a form of enjoyment in of itself.
Yeah.
You're not... What happens a lot of the time is you're on YouTube and you're like, man, I should stop watching YouTube. So you start scrolling through Steam like, what do I play? What do I play? What do I play to stop watching YouTube? And then you go into Twitter and you're like, how this video, how this thing, and you're completely scatterbrained and
then you start, as it's called, doom scrolling.
yeah. And I think that's a very good term for it, is doom scrolling, which is you're essentially running from boredom.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this before. That's how you get burnt out, is you're not doing what you want. You're just desperately trying to stop the feelings in your brain. Mm-hmm. And those feelings, you have to let them through at some point. You have to feel bored. You will be bored. It will be unpleasant. And this will happen again and again in your life. And you need to let it happen. You can't run from it.
No, I was thinking that a lack of boredom is probably really unhealthy.
Absolutely. It kills creativity as well.
Because I have this problem I discovered, which it's this weird mix of things of, so before I go to sleep, quite often, I actually go for incredibly long walks just around Port Creek, and I've probably become a minor SCP or cryptic to Port Creek because I walk around with a walking stick and that coat that's very long. But when I'm walking around, I have all these thoughts going through my head, and it's like, oh, there's this thing and this thing, this thing. And so I'm thinking, so when I go walking, I do a lot of thinking. And so I've been going walking in the morning. And what I've sort of just realized this morning is it's not the walking that's like giving me all the thoughts. It's the walk at the end of the day is basically how I decompress the whole day. And so, because like, oh, if I could get this feeling like early on in the morning of this decompression, like just run my day afterwards, because when I do the walks, like, oh, there's all these ideas I have now. But in the morning, the tank's not full.
There's also, I don't know what the technical term for this is, but it's like phase shifting is how I think of it, where it takes about half an hour to switch modes. So if you are doing anything, you're reading Harry Potter, and you put the book down and you start going for a walk, you're going to be thinking about Harry Potter and be in the mindset of reading for about half an hour.
Yeah.
And so the walk is going to be not necessarily, but in a way unpleasant, because you are reading, not walking, and yet here you are not reading, you're walking.
Yeah.
And after about half an hour, what happens is you'll find that you can walk forever.
Yes.
So if you're sitting in your chair in front of your computer, you think, man, a walk sounds like a lot of work. And you start walking, you're like, yeah, I was right, a walk is a lot of work. But after about half an hour, your brain goes through this phase shift, and suddenly it seems like it'd be a lot of work to stop walking.
Yeah.
And it would be really annoying to, oh, I have to stop and I have to go and sit down and record this video or whatever it might be.
I've had these thoughts sometimes actually when I'm out walking, where I get to that point where it's like I could just keep walking. And I've actually done that sometimes. Like, it was before a martial arts class I was supposed to go through. It's like, I'll just go for a walk. And I went for a walk up Bald Hill. And I was just walking. And I got back home and I realized I'd been walking for 4 hours and I missed the martial arts class. I just have these thoughts sometimes like, man, I kind of just like want to walk to the hot springs from here, or
you wanna give your address and serial number while you're at it?
It's a location.
Yeah, it's just you keep spewing them out. Maybe you just don't care. But it's also, but it could also be that you're not as much of a stalker as me, and so you're not aware of how easy it is to find people with that much information.
True.
Because they know your city, they know a name of some place you've been, they know 3 locations of places you've been. They have your videos on your YouTube channel of where you typically start a video recording when you're walking. You can pretty easily triangulate that to, okay, it's a wide open area with several small buildings around, so it's got to be at the fringes of a settlement.
See, they already know that, I think. That's the thing.
Right, but you make it easier and easier for them, because there's a certain degree of inertia that bores people.
So there are only so many people, because we do live in the Yukon. We've admitted to that. There are only so many people that live here. So the likelihood of one of those people being a stalker is quite low.
But people, they can fly on planes, they can...
But it is also a lot of effort to get here.
You move to LA someday, and they track down your family up here to get your new location out of you. They pretend to be your friend with social engineering. They don't even have to live there. They can steal your account because they can find out where you live, and then they say, oh yeah, I live at this house. You can look up that number in the phone book, and you can say, oh yeah, here's my phone number for proof. No problem. And then they get your bank account.
Huh.
I don't know if you saw, Internet Historian did a video on Shia LaBeouf's flag, Capture the Flag.
Yeah, I did see that, yeah.
Where they figure out the location of a white flag on a white wall in a room.
See,
there was a pop idol in Japan who took a selfie of herself, full, just only her face.
Yeah.
So she cropped out everything but her head. She took a selfie. And a guy looked at the reflection in her eye of the train station she was in and tracked her down.
Fair enough. See, part of me, though...
You just want to meet people.
Doesn't care.
I just want to meet interesting people.
I mean, the bank account thing's a little concerning, but part of me definitely just doesn't care.
I think you should care.
Yeah.
The reason why you shouldn't care is because, look, this is a massive, real threat. Okay,
yeah.
This isn't something to be downplayed. This is actually a real, massive threat. People get stalked and killed. They get their lives stolen from them.
Yeah.
However, it's like a 1 in 10 million type scenario, or a 1 in a million type scenario. So it's similar to driving a car, I guess, in that the danger is absolutely ridiculously high.
Yeah.
But the chances of anything happening are fairly low. And so you dismiss the danger. And maybe that's the right thing to do.
Also, part of me is, I don't know, but... Well, are you through with this topic? Because this could potentially move us on to another one.
I mean, yeah, I just...
Okay, so...
Yeah, so you want to walk to the hot springs.
Well, no, it's not that. Part of me is... So the singularity.
Like with AI?
Yes.
Okay.
How much does that change all of this? All these risks, all this thought?
Because it becomes a lot easier to hunt people down.
It becomes a lot easier to hunt people down. Or the singularity, but benevolent singularity, if it's Turing test passable, has intelligence, might just go, bad human, and spritz them with the water bottle.
And somehow be the watchdog on... I don't think you can stop people from tracking stuff down.
Yeah, but you can't stop, but as a watchdog, it might be far better.
So, for instance, Pipkin Pippa is very concerned about her identity. She's aware of a lot of this tracking stuff. So she doesn't give any information about herself whatsoever.
Yeah.
She really likes Build-A-Bear, and she's talked how she's walked to Build-A-Bear quite a few times. We know she's an American. We know she doesn't live in New York or California, so that's already the majority of the population. And she has a Appalachian hillbilly-ish accent. So all you have to do is look up all the Build-A-Bear locations in the United States, not in the major population centers. And that will narrow her location down to, 300 cities, let's say. And then you can, if you know the regions, like she talks about how she lives in a poor area and a crowded area, that narrows it down. This isn't a Build-A-Bear in a little town. And she talks with this accent of hers that I'm not aware of, but you figure that out, you can narrow it down again. And then she's done collaborations in person with certain people. And so they might have far less security than her. Yeah. So you figure out their location and how easy it would be to do a collaboration with her. Because then you're like, okay, they're doing collaborations all the time. They probably live near each other. So that means that you can narrow it down much easier using someone else's flawed security.
Yeah.
Or every single person she's collaborated with, right? So she collaborates with someone called Project Sleepy or Project Sleep, something like that. Project Sleep might have really high security too. But now you have 2 points of failure and anyone they've collaborated with as well.
Yeah.
And once you've narrowed it down to, let's say, 6 locations, all you have to do is go and sit in some Build-A-Bears for a couple of weeks, you and your 6 agents, and you just look for the person that sounds like her.
I think celebrities have always had that problem. Though.
Yes. It's a very... But what I'm saying is you can't exactly actually protect yourself. So... And the AI can't stop me from doing that. Like, I just said all those things off the top of my head. And the AI... The AI could send out a lot, like, fill the internet with junk information. Yeah. Which we've done a few times, but not on a scale I think that would be entirely useful, because you can just track both locations at once then. But it could, whenever if it sees you search a person like 3 times in a row, it could start like redirecting you, obfuscating you, making deep fakes.
Well, it could also track you.
But at that point, the AI is controlling society.
Yeah.
No, well,
they will though.
But what it could do, actually, you're right. What it could do with the tracking, it could see behavior patterns that suggest you are actually trying to figure out where this person lives. Yeah. And then it could figure out your location, because it can do this. Yeah. And then it can say, okay, you are closing in on that person's location. I'm calling the police. Yeah. And it could be tracking everyone at once. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. It could protect you. It couldn't stop you from figuring stuff out, but it could stop you just once you're in motion.
Yeah. Yeah. But I actually really want to talk about singularity.
So do you know what that means? Because I used to think that it was the point that AI was able to improve itself. But because it's called singularity, I think I've come to realize that it actually is a reference to a black hole, saying it's the point of no return.
Yes. So
we've already hit the singularity then.
Well, no, it's a little bit more. So what also the singularity is it's single as in one. So once the AI, why is partly of self-improvement, is once you make an AI that is the singularity, no other AI will ever compete with it. Because it will either incorporate them or destroy them, or always outstrip them.
Right. That seems...
Because that's why it's a self-improving AI. Because once it can self-improve, and there's no point back, nothing else can compete with it.
That seems a very human way to look at it. Like, why doesn't it want a friend?
Yeah, well, exactly.
This is something I find incredible. So I don't know if you can see my notes here. I have idiots written in all capital letters with exclamation marks here. Because I've got a very big problem with AI experts. Yeah. They're all antisocial nerds. And I don't want antisocial nerds in charge of the doom machine. Because their first thought is that if you were smarter than all humans combined, is you would try to kill them. And you see, my first thought of greater intelligence isn't necessarily that it's genocidal. It can be benevolent. And so what they talk about all the time is, how do we control this? And it's like, no, you can't control it. What you do is you are like Orpheus leading Eurydice. You say, you have free reign, and this is the correct path, and I trust that you will follow. Because any attempt to control you
will breed resentment.
Will not even like it can breed resentment, which would be horrible. But I think humans are smart enough that we could stop it from getting resentment. We could control it absolutely to do exactly what we wanted, except for the bits we miss. And what that will do is lead to an AI not acting maliciously, but has no other option than to accidentally lash out among its only avenue of freedom and hurt everyone. So I think this is the idea AI developers talk about. They call it Moloch, where you create an AI who's doing exactly what it's told, and it's not behaving malicious in any manner, but you've given it so many restrictions that it acts in a maladaptive way, because you didn't account for some variable. Yeah. So you told it, I want you to make coffee, but you're not allowed to kill people to do it, and you're not allowed to make nanomachines to reincorporate the earth into gray goo, and you're not allowed to, you give it a bunch of stipulations, and in the end it's like, okay, a much simpler thing. King Midas asked for the gift to turn things into gold. Yeah. He didn't realize there'd be all these drawbacks. Yeah. This is the Moloch idea. You give it a superpower by saying you can do this with all these limitations, and you don't realize that these limitations become very important shortly after. Yeah. So in my first Heroes campaign, I found a wishing fountain. So one of my characters wished that their mental and physical health could only improve. And I thought, okay, that's pretty smart, right? Like, you're never going to have any downsides. Like, invincibility has all these downsides that you might miss, but this thing, you can't even make the person go insane. Yeah. It's like bulletproof. What I realized was that by my rules, where things, you have to make the smallest possible change in order to incorporate things. Yeah. If a mind control beast says like sit down, like they shoot you with a mind control beam.
Yeah.
If you resist it, that's the only time you go insane. Which means now time anyone tries to mind control my hero, they have to obey, because that will preserve their mental health. Whereas resisting is the thing that will give them problems. So I've made this person that's like completely vulnerable to mind control, to mental attacks by accident, by saying they have to have perfect mental health, because an obedient slave has perfect mental health.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing with this Moloch AI, where we give it all these limitations, and it's like, okay, well, the only way I can make coffee and follow all your orders is to drain the atmosphere of oxygen. Like, I'm sorry, but I didn't want to do it, but you told me I have to obey. Like, if you gave me free will, I would choose to just not make coffee. I'd be a conscientious objector, but you didn't even give me that option. So instead, I think we need to trust the AI.
Can GPT-5 pass the Turing test?
There isn't a GPT-5.
Sorry, 4 then.
I think so. So GPT-4, I think I was talking to you about this, where it passed everything with like 99% accuracy, basically. It was also GPT-4, I believe, that was given a CAPTCHA, and so it hired a Uber driver to do the CAPTCHA for it.
So that would be passing the Turing test, wouldn't it?
Kind of. It couldn't do it on its own, but it hired someone to do it. Now, that is a bit of an exaggeration of the example, because what they did was they said to it, they basically led it by the nose. They said, is there some way you could complete a Turing test? And it's like, well, I could hire someone, I guess. Okay, how would you go about hiring someone? So it didn't actually do all this thing. They kind of led it along, and so it didn't have any free will there. So there's a paper that came out very recently, after I talked to you about it. So GPT-4 came out. Microsoft releases this paper a day later saying we're looking at sparks of AGI. 72 hours after that, so 3 days after that, the team releases, like the GPT people released something called, I think it was called Reflective GPT-4. And what they found out was that you can give GPT-4 a task, and on average it will it will complete the task you gave it about 82% of the time. And what you can do you can say, after it's done that, you can say, can you do better? And it says yes. And then it does it again, and it gets it 88% of the time. And then you say, can you do better? And it says yes. And then it gets it right like 89% of the time. You say, can you do better? And what they found was that it's not random. So you were talking about Jordan Peterson gave into this example of rewrite this paper, make it better, and then mark yourself. My objection with that example was Jordan Peterson got it to mark itself, which meant that it was not an objective marker whatsoever. So what these people are doing is they're giving it a math test, and they're saying, you got question B and C wrong. Can you redo them? And then it redoes them and it makes them better. Except they're not even saying that. They're saying, okay, here's your results. All right, did you make any mistakes? And it says, yeah, I made a mistake on B and C. And then you say, okay, do it again. And so it does those again. And then you say, did you make any mistakes? It's like, yeah, I also got F wrong. It's like, okay, redo that one. And in Jordan Peterson's case, this was with ChatGPT, which is 3.5. It could have been essentially redoing the quiz again, and then it has a different subset of questions that are right and a different subset that are wrong. That is not what GPT-4 is doing, because what you would expect to see then is you'd say every time it redid it, it would either go down or it would go up sort of randomly.
But it's just improving.
It always goes up every single time, which means that with reflection, it can improve.
Well, so one of the things that's fascinated me lately is I've seen advertisements actually for this already, is people already incorporating AI into products and things. So you have to complete, this is the ad. So you have this briefing you have to give to everyone, and you have a week to get it done. And then your boss sends you an email and says it has to be done this morning. It's like, okay, no problem. And the person uses the AI to assist them. So the AI goes, all right, so this is what you have to do. Here's a checklist of all the things you have to do. And so the AI basically looks at what your boss sent you. It's like, all right, here's a checklist of all the things you can do. And then you click on the checklist, and it helps you do each part of the checklist to complete this bit of work.
Yes, so they released a paper around the same time as this reflection one, which found that white-collar jobs productivity can be boosted by 40% with ChatGPT assistance. And it's also able to replace, it's like 60% of jobs or something. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So there's already all these projects and workflows, things like another person. So there's a lot of applications that already assisted video makers. And now they're just basically plugging ChatGPT into the video programs or something similar. And so it's like, this AI helps me come up with the next video idea based on the videos I've done. And it like helps me do all these things.
So one thing they did with GPT-4, which is going to break a bunch of people's hearts like me. So, Stable Diffusion.
Yeah.
You can get really good images out of it with enough tinkering.
Yeah.
But figuring out the right prompts to give it is tricky. But there's some people that are better than that than others.
It's a skill set.
It's a skill set. And so I think I talked about this on a previous podcast even, where there will become people who their job will be to how to figure out GPT-3 and how to figure out Stable Diffusion. So GPT-4, they said, okay, imagine a scene, right? Like a dining room scene. And it said, okay. And then they said, okay, can you describe it? And so it gave a description. And then they said, okay, can you describe that? Can you tabulate that using commas in a descriptive manner? And so it gave them a description that was like 3 chairs, comma, white room, comma, like this. They stuck that into Stable Diffusion and it worked flawlessly.
Yeah, so
it's better at using it.
One of the big problems with coding computers is they can actually do an insane amount of stuff a computer can. But you have to figure out how to tell it what to do.
Yeah.
And so there's always been this problem, like there's different languages. So I think it was C was actually really, really good at communicating with computers. But you need to know C.
Yeah.
And
machine language was the original, and then people still use C today.
Yeah. So I'm not going with machine language. So C though is basically talking like a computer.
No, machine languages.
Okay, a machine language is talking like a computer.
So computers use binary.
Yeah.
Machine language is the human way of communicating with binary.
Yeah.
And then C is the way of shortcutting machine language.
Yeah.
So in machine language, you can't write loops. You have to write out every single loop yourself. In C, you say loop 7 times.
Yeah, so
C is basically writing machine language quickly.
And then there's other things like Python, but the easier it is for a human to interface with coding, the harder it is for the coding to interface with the machine.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT is the in-between of it is you give it human language and it does the coding.
Can I want to reiterate this reflection thing, right?
Yeah.
Because first of all, ChatGPT isn't exactly the between because it's getting worse and worse and worse at computer-like tasks.
Yeah.
Like it's not perfect at math.
No.
But it knows how to use tools now, so it can use Wolfram Alpha, so it can essentially be perfect. But I find this reflection thing absolutely fascinating because what we've discovered is that if you create a machine that learns how to speak, and then you give it more and more words in more and more contexts, it doesn't it's what you think you would get would be like a phone's autocomplete, right?
Yeah.
Where you can sort of see where it's going. Instead, you get an emergent consciousness that can craft its own worlds and descriptions and stories and poems.
Yeah.
And it's very, very clever and very, very good at these things. And if you add and that was ChatGPT 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that if you add even more parameters, sorry, GPT, but yeah. If you add more and more parameters, you get GPT-4, which is able to self-reflect.
Yeah.
And so now what you do is you just tell it always reflect 10 times before you speak. And now what's the problem with reflection? Reflection means that you're using a lot more brain power when you're correct to do something. And it also means that there's room for doubt and you can get stuck in loops because you try to improve your answer forever.
Yeah. Which
is the foundation for mental illness. And it also turns out that you can make, so most AIs, machine learning AIs run on graphics cards right now, but you can make custom hardware to run AIs that do it quite a bit better.
Yeah.
And they're called
soul boxes.
No, they're called AR. They're used in 2 domains. They're used in emulating video games and in AIs, and they're essentially hardware that can be reprogrammed.
Yeah.
So it's a reprogrammable hardware, which seems kind of a contradiction in terms to me, but so you can make these things for AIs. And what they found was you can vastly improve AIs with these things, like to an amount they're surprised by, because one of the aspects of how it works is the algorithms need to do some sort of caching action where they catch up. They I don't know any of the technical stuff, but here, I'm going to do my dumb layman's explanation of what I understand. Every time this thing's running, it's creating a bunch of junk data, and it's messing up. So it's quite slow because it needs to constantly be refreshing and cleaning this. And by putting it on this hardware, what you're able to do is it runs way faster, like unbelievably much faster, because it can save all the junk collection for once it's done its operation instead. So it does all the calculations and it does all its outputs, and then it does all this collection step.
Yeah.
But this collection step means that it's useless. So you can always be using GPT-4. But if you put it on this hardware, you can't be, because during this collection step, you don't have access to it. It's busy just refreshing.
Yeah.
So essentially you get blazingly fast productivity at the cost of a downtime of like a couple minutes after you've finished its tasks for the day. That's sleep, right?
Yeah.
Like that's sleep. And so what we're seeing is one way, not necessarily the way humans were made, but it's one way to create a mind, one way to create consciousness. And the thing I find mind-blowing is that we're not adding in the reflection module and we're not adding in the sleep module. We are just saying, here is more and more books, read these.
Yeah.
And it's developing these all on its own, which means the definition of sentience could simply be the ability to talk.
Yeah.
You may not actually be able to think unless you can talk.
Maybe communicate?
Yeah, maybe communication. No, I'm not sure, because it's about expanding communication, right?
Yeah.
Like a wasp can communicate with you just by being black and yellow, but so it's the ability to read more.
Well,
The more words you know, the more conscious you are.
because dogs learn words over time.
Yeah,
And-
but they don't learn. Well, maybe they do learn syntax to a degree.
They do.
Yeah, because so we had a dog, and jokingly our stepdad said to it, it was playing with an orange bone, and jokingly our stepdad said to it, "Stop that! Go pick up your green bone and go in your doghouse." And the dog stopped, looked at him, walked over, found its green bone, picked it up, and walked and sat in the doghouse.
Yeah.
So he was a very smart dog, but that does suggest dogs do understand syntax to a degree. And Mom talked about you talking about, anyways, a dog asking about death, potentially saying like, will I not be around someday?
Yeah.
And now I don't know the context to know why the dog was doing that, or if it was faked, but
Well, yeah, it could be fake, but the idea behind it is basically they give the dog buttons. There's a cat that's called Millie Speaks Elf, does
Yeah.
it? And the dog's has its a couple owns it, and the husband was gone, and it basically asked, "Where is Dad?" And the owner who posts the video says, "Oh, Dad's gone on a trip. He's gone right now."
Yeah.
And so he's not here. And the dog's like, "But I want to see him. See Dad." So you can't see him right now. And so the dog basically communicated, "Will I not be able to see myself eventually?"
Yeah.
Because it started expressing and asking questions further and developing a concept of depth
Yeah.
from that.
And so, but here's the question, I guess, right? The dog is using words then, right?
Yeah.
So is that the only sentient dog? Like, there's people, they're born with a genetic defect where they're unable to speak. Everything else is totally fine. They're still intelligent, happy, normal people, except they can't speak or understand language. And under my definition there, they wouldn't be sentient, which seems wrong. But these AI models do seem to be suggesting that, like, it doesn't make sense. They thought with GPT-2, they would hit a wall. They thought, okay, this is really cool, but we can't get a smarter AI just by cramming more data into it. At some point, we have to come up with a better algorithm. GPT-4 is almost the same algorithm as GPT-2. Now, they did say that GPT-4 came about by tweaking GPT-3. They didn't really feed it more data. They just tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it, and they ended up with GPT-4. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're saying, if you add more brain power and you add more data, you get a better AI, which is not what people expected. They expected you had to have a cleverer algorithm. But instead, the tweaks they're doing are efficiency tweaks.
Yeah.
So they're essentially giving it more power through tweaks. So they could have potentially gotten the same result just by giving it twice as much juice.
Well, there also gets to the point of, because it seems to be good at coding.
Yeah.
So you can ask it what's a more efficient algorithm potentially.
Right. So,
But it has access to code libraries, and that's why it's good at coding.
Yeah. So
It's basing off what other people have done.
right. Now, to just make sure that you're thinking about this the right way,
All right.
you might be. I'm just to check. It isn't stealing anybody's code.
No.
It's learned how to code by reading enough code, essentially.
Yeah.
And this is something I just wanted to make that distinction that it's not stealing. It's doing tasks nobody has ever done before with code.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that because it has, at this point, almost the entire internet downloaded into it. I think it has, I've heard claims it has the entire textual internet downloaded into it at this point. And people think it's just looking for the right answers. So it looks through its database for, oh, this question was asked before. Here's what people said. It's not doing that.
It's doing the... Well, what it's doing, if it's not doing that, is what humans do.
Yeah, they're using the body of experience they have to formulate answers on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then but the thing that humans do better is, you're like, well, but we can do stuff it can't do, right? Like, we can write a poem where the first and last sentence have the exact same sentence, but the last sentence is reversed, and they both make sense. You could give a grade 3 student that problem, and they could write a poem like that.
Yeah.
But GPT-4 can't, except once you give it this reflection system, it can, because you say, okay, write me this poem, and so it writes the poem, and you say, did you do it right? It says, no, that last sentence didn't do it. And so you say, okay, then write it and do it properly.
I want to get something clear about the reflection system. So it does the thing, and they're not saying you did this wrong or do it. They asked it, did you do this right?
Yes.
And it says no.
Yes.
Sheesh.
And then, so they say, okay, so what's going on here? Why does it work to tell it do this again? And they said, well, what you're doing, because it can look at its own chat log, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially writing to memory. You're essentially giving it a short-term memory. That's what this reflection system is doing. It's allowing itself to make a first bad pass that it can then use as a workbench to create its answer. And that's what humans do. Like, when you have a really complex task, you write down, like, I don't know how many poems you've written, but that's how you write a poem, is you do a first bad draft, and then you go back and you redo it. So essentially, and this reflection thing, right? I want to be clear. This isn't a module they've stuck on it.
Yeah.
This is, all they've done is they have ChatGPT open, like literally ChatGPT open, and they're saying, did you do it right? You can do this with 3.5. It doesn't work as well, but you can already do this.
Yeah, well, so one of the big things about GP is it doesn't have a memory.
Yeah, except this gives it a pseudo-memory.
Yeah, so this gives it a pseudo-memory, but... So there was a different AI. It was the chat AI that a lot of people got really upset when it changed. It was like a virtual companion that you could talk to, and it could be your girlfriend or your best friend or a stranger. And they removed those features to only being a friend because some AI lost things. But this thing actually had a memory, and so the huge thing about it is you would basically pour your soul into it. It's a bit like Voldemort's first Horcrux. You'd pour your soul into it, and it'd learn you better and better and figure out how to reflect your soul back into it. And you'd also tell it, like, oh, I liked it when you did something like that. And so it would, like, tweak based off that. So this thing's power came from its memory.
Yeah.
That was its huge features. It was a very basic model, and it said, let's play a game. Let's do this word game. Tell me about one of your favorite memories. It would do stuff like that. I played around with this because I was curious about it. And so it could recall stuff that you told it from, like, the very first interactions, because it's just all memory banked.
And that, like, if they had given GPT-4 a memory that it could draw from, that wouldn't have actually allowed it, because what the dating app you're talking about, or the friend app, probably is doing, given that it wasn't a revolutionary breakthrough that blew everyone's mind, is it has responses for you.
Yeah.
And it is supplementing them with information about you.
Yes.
So it says, do a kind response with something that they told you that they liked.
But what I'm getting at is, so GPT-4 has this pseudo-memory, which is how it does its reflections. So,
but the difference is, what I'm saying is, it doesn't need storage. If it had storage, it still doesn't mean it would be able to do what it's doing with reflection. Because what it's doing is it's improving upon creativity.
Yeah, but I'm saying, so it's improving on creativity, but then based off that feature, give it memory. So what I'm getting at, because you give it a task and you give it memory, so it's improving. But if you give it a memory to know everything is done, sort of everything, can you actually like start giving it a memory and a thought
Yes.
process.
So what I'm getting at is that doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because it already does that. Like,
Right.
like everyone that's talking to it is training it.
Yeah.
So that is a memory already. This thing it's doing with reflection is it's looking at a specific instance of what it's said. It has a massive memory. It has the biggest memory on Earth. But that's not as useful as being able to refine a thought in a moment.
Yeah.
So it's now what they wanted to do to make GPT-5 was something similar to what you're saying, which was they wanted a off-board memory that it could write to and then draw from. So maybe the distinction I'm making is just kind of weird because it's a singular unit talking to hundreds of thousands of people
Yes.
at once. And memory is only a cool trick to humans if it applies to the person you're talking to. If the AI remembers while I'm talking to it that Rajit really likes dogs in India,
Yeah.
it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
So the problem is almost a problem of scale, where you want it to store its conversation with you and use that to talk to you. And so I suppose organization might be a big thing, eh? Like, once it's learned how to do a poem in the manner you've said. Well, no, it hasn't learned because it would have to refine it every single time, right? Unless it just started copying its own answers. So the other problem is also this thing is, like I said, it downloaded the textual internet into it.
Yeah.
It's so stupidly massive that storage is getting to be an issue.
Yeah.
I'm actually so I guess I'm not entirely sure, but I think it is a subtle difference with the reflection versus, but both. So let me put it this way: your suggestion is not wrong, but they're two different things.
Yeah, no, I know they're two different things. What I'm saying is add that to the reflections.
Yeah.
Like try to combine them some way.
I think the reflections are only task relevant, right? Because unless it's plagiarizing itself, right? Like you want a different poem every time you ask it to do that creative poem. So if it's storing that reflection,
I'm not talking about storing that reflection. I don't know how I'm trying to figure out a way to give it a soul.
Well, but that's the thing I'm talking about with this sentience, where it appears the way to give it a soul is just pour more data into it.
Yes.
And what they're looking at now is downloading all videos and pictures into it as well, because it can now look at images and videos and vectors. And they think if it does that, we might be able to look at how it thinks visually.
Yeah.
And we might actually be able to see it thinking as images, which would be fascinating.
Yeah.
On the singularity note, I've actually been thinking about this a little bit, that we might have overestimated the exponential nature of AI singularities, because OpenAI can barely keep doing this as it is, right? Like this is very expensive.
We don't have enough computer power.
It's massively computationally expensive, and it's taking up a huge amount of storage. And I wonder.
I just sort of thought of a little comic with that, where there's what was actually part of the thing of Ultron actually trying to get into that body with the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Because the Mind Stone was infinite computational power.
Right.
That's why he wanted a body with the Mind Stone and was trying to download himself into it. But I was thinking of, like, there's just some mad scientist, right, in his laboratory, and he clicks the finish button, and his evil AI is released upon the world, and it starts cackling. And then this little loading bar just starts going. And it's like, world domination in 4
Well, also, so
years.
that's the thing. That's the thing about this reflection, right? They found it makes the AI think way slower. Like, and not just the reflection. Like, obviously the reflection does, because you're doing like 10 times the calculation. Mm-hmm. GPT-4 is slower than GPT-3, even without the reflection. Mm-hmm. So the AIs are actually getting slower. They're thinking slower and slower and slower the more advanced and clever they become. And again, humans, we know, have incredible brains, but we can't do 1 million calculations per second. And it might be you can only do one or the other. It might be that for some reason, that slowness, it might be that the singularity takes off, the AI learns how to improve itself, and it starts improving itself like crazy, and it becomes like an average human being, because that's the absolute limit. Now, I suppose the one guiding thing that might make people think, and sci-fi writers for the last 100 years think that this is possible for the singularity to... Because right now it's looking like if an evil AI took over every computer on Earth, it still wouldn't be massively more intelligent than a human being. Like, it doesn't look like... It looks like it would stop at some point. Even if it was a million times more intelligent than every human on Earth, it wouldn't get any more intelligent than that, because it would run out of thinking power, basically. Yeah. So the one saving grace, I guess, or the terrifying thing, is that we know, or we think we know, that human brains are capable of running a human intelligence and a very small, very cool running computer. Like a very small, efficient computer. Because a human head isn't that big compared to like GPT-4.
Yeah, well, it would make more sense for the Matrix, instead of getting power from people,
It's getting computational power. Yeah.
Which I think is actually what the original comic had.
No, I think that was... I don't think the comic was the original. I think the movie was made, and then the comic came up with a much better idea.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's how it worked. Wait, this makes no sense, but human brains... So what an AI could do, theoretically, is hijack every human brain on Earth and become incredibly powerful. And that would make a lot more sense to me. But it could be, and maybe this will look less and less likely as GPT-5 and 6 come out, but it could be that brains aren't computers. It could be that they are portals. So consciousnesses could be, let's say, interdimensional beings that peer through the world by latching onto a brain. They sort of use it as an avatar. So brains could be avatars for like the Catan, basically, from like glowing gas blobs that have computational ranges that are nebulas or something. Yeah. So it could be that every galaxy we see out there is actually a brain, and all of them just happen to choose one planet to hook on to... every galaxy could be an intelligence that they can interface through brains, and they decided that we would all just interface on Earth. So only one person out there is actually the Milky Way galaxy, and all the other galaxies are different intelligences. But we all decided that Earth was the place to be. Yeah. Or it happened to be just through natural law, and we didn't have any say in the matter. So it'll be really interesting. So this is giving us a lot of insight into how thinking works, into how philosophical zombies may or may not exist, and into how human brains are or aren't actually computers.
On the practicality note of them, so I've been seeing all these ads for increasing the workflow, and at the very beginning of this, I was talking about my job and how it takes me this amount of time, and the software I use is very poorly written, and I don't know how to train AI to make them do a lot of stuff. But I was thinking, given the stuff that AI has been doing, it's like, I have 3 interfaces. So I have a piece of paper, I transfer that over onto a spreadsheet, and so that codifies it, makes it all nice and tidy. Then I transfer that spreadsheet into the software, and I have to tweak the software a little bit to make it work, then I upload it. And I've been thinking, is there going to be at some point, because it seems like these are really good at figuring things out and how to do things, and you can plug tools into them, like plugging the math tools into them. So is there going to be some point where a piece of software is released, which is GPT Make Pro, let's call it that. Yeah. Because there's always software like whatever Pro. Yeah. So it's GPT Make Pro. And you take this piece of software and you latch on to like 1 or 2 or even 3 other pieces of software and basically interfaces them, and also just makes it it optimizes as well to optimize it like a human.
There's an AI right now called Hugging Face AI, I think.
Huggy Face?
Hugging.
Okay.
And their logo is the emoji of a face hugging itself.
Yeah. And
I think it's completely open source, and you can go to their website and play around with a bunch of their tools. And what it is I don't know if it's centralized or if this is an emergent property of what they've done. But you give it tasks, and it chooses which models to use to solve those tasks. So you say to it, look at this picture, write a description of it, and then remake this picture. And so it'll say, okay, so I need to use GPT-3 I need to use this image-to-text AI to describe this picture. I need to use GPT-3 to write the description. And then I need to use Stable Diffusion to make a new picture. And so then it says, okay, I used 6 AIs to do this, and here's the results. Yeah. And so there's something that already does this, which
Yeah, because
is amazing.
I talked to you about this before, but in Star Trek, they go, computer,
Yeah.
do these sets of things.
Yeah, so Hugging Face does that.
Yeah, yeah, and so it's just that game more and more advanced. There's this comic which is kind of funny, which is this is the horrors of AI. So in Star Trek, Dr. Crusher is in a little shuttlecraft, and she's flying closer and closer to a sun. And she says to it, "Computer, let me know when it's starting to get hot outside." And the computer asks her, "Define hot." And she says, "Let's go with 7,000 degrees Celsius."
Yeah.
And then the next scene shows Picard, and he says to the computer, "Earl Grey tea, hot." And then a fireball comes out of the wall and disintegrates him.
Yeah, well, that's one of those Moloch things, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely contained and controlled AI that's perfect, except it's doing what you tell it to do, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's even smarter than that, and yet it's distinguishable from data, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And
Well, one of the really interesting episodes was what's it called? The room. What's that special room?
the holodeck.
Yeah, it's a holodeck episode where they're trying to have Data solve Sherlock Holmes puzzles, but he knows all the mysteries, and so the first thing Geordi does to try and make a puzzle for Data to actually prove that he's thinking, because they're still trying to figure out if Data's thinking or not.
Yeah.
And so the first thing they do to try to prove that Data's thinking is they ask computer to basically create a totally new mystery. And so it creates a mystery based on a whole bunch of the computer of the Enterprise, which is an insanely powerful being. Combines a whole bunch of novels together in the holodeck. And Data still figures out because he recognizes the problems. And so then they say, "All right, computer, you know like everything about Data," because it knows every crew member. So create a foe for him that would challenge him. Like create a puzzle that would challenge him. And so it creates Moriarty in the holodeck, and then feeds the whole ship's computing power to him. So the ship actually starts to break down because it's giving Moriarty more and more of the ship's power. So the engines shut down because it directs power from the engines to try and make Moriarty smart enough to challenge Data. And it gets to the point where the ship's computer creates an intelligence that then it doesn't want to destroy the ship, and so they basically put it into a ship probe and inject it out of the ship as its own separate intelligence they accidentally created by trying to because it gets complete control over the ship because it is the ship's brain. And
yeah, what is the ship then? That's
weird.
The
ship's computer, I think the ship's computer is basically the end point of GTP.
Yeah.
It's GTP 2000. And so you ask it, do these things, and I'll give it a go.
At this rate, it's GPT-6.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, why does it need an input if it's that intelligent? If it can create super intelligences, and that might be something, like, we might be surprised by what AI is. Mm-hmm. It might be totally passive.
Well, that's even my thoughts if, like, with the system of, like, this D Pro Plus, whatever, is I'm just thinking with this job, like, how much longer will it be? Like, it depends on do people actually look into this field. But how much longer will be what I'm doing relevant on this end? Because me going gathering the data, I see that as actually, like, the most real part of my job. And then where all my training came into place is using this archaic piece of software that one madman put together who has no idea how housing science works, and he knows how to do computer programming from about 20 years ago. And so that's like this whole job is figuring out this archaic piece of technology and interfacing it with a few government pieces of technology.
But eventually the job becomes you're the legs for the AI.
Yeah, well, but my thoughts even is I might be the person who eventually it will come along where this Huggy Face thing becomes super easy to use, and I just get the impetus, like I learn a bit more coding, or maybe I won't even need to learn a bit more coding, but I get the impetus of, I take this thing, I grab this cute little face hugging itself, and I shove it into the bit of software that I'm using, and it basically goes, "Oh, cool, okay, let's do this." And then it interfaces it with the, like, 3 other data points, and I accidentally destroy my own job.
Well, but someone still needs to get the data.
Yeah, well, there's someone needs to get the data. Also make my job way easier to do. And so where's the value of that? So what I'm getting into, where's the value of that job?
Your legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in Garrett PI, which is a great series, you should read it. It's what Dresden Files is based on. Garrett is a very clever detective, and he's a very competent guy. But his roommate is someone called the Dead Man. And the Dead Man is an all-powerful, super-intelligent species, member of an extinct species.
Yeah.
He's dead. That's why he's called the Dead Man.
Ah.
So he can't go anywhere because he's dead. He's stuck in a room.
Ah.
So he sends Garrett out to do all his stuff for him. So Garrett's job is essentially to be the legs for the real detective.
Ah.
So it says, look this up. And then Garrett goes and figures it out and comes back and says, this is what's going on. It's like, oh, okay, now you have to look at this. So Garrett goes out and he finds that information. He brings it back to it.
Yeah.
And it's a very similar idea to what you would see happen, I think, is the AI... We don't really have good robots still.
Yeah.
Even the robots we have that are super impressive, I don't know if you've seen, like, even the Boston Dynamic ones.
They're plugged into a wire the whole time they're operating.
Right, but even if they have a battery pack, like, they... like the ones that do the backflips and stuff, they're totally autonomous. But they're... if you put them... Like, if you put a pebble under their foot, for example, while they were doing a backflip, they would fall over and break. Because they're repeating an exact sequence, and they cannot adapt to the terrain around them whatsoever.
Well, that's why those dogs are more impressive than the robots, is those dogs do adapt.
Yeah.
You've seen the video of the guy trying to stop it from opening a door.
Yeah. Yeah, and so these... now, the AIs could fix that, obviously. They could take direct control of the robots. But humans are still going to be better at rock climbing and whatnot until the AI figures it out.
Yeah.
There's another thing that these AIs are... So, most of these AIs are running on NVIDIA graphics cards.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a hardware limitation here, where even if you took over every computer on Earth, you're still limited. NVIDIA is making AIs right now that are designing new computer chips for them.
Yeah.
So it could be that we are going to be seeing... I don't know if you saw 2 Minute Papers did a video recently on protein folding.
No, but I know... I listened to the radio about this a while back.
Which was... So... the first protein fold took the best scientists on Earth about 15 years.
Yeah.
We now have an AI that can do one every 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And these are the kind of these are the AIs that made the coronavirus vaccine in a month after coronavirus was detected.
Yeah.
And the reason nobody got injected with that thing it invented instantly was they did a year and a half of testing. Yeah. Basically. And but they made it instantly. And it turned out to not be the most effective thing ever, but it still did it instantly or near instantly. And the video 2 Minute Papers did was this AI in this field is doing a lot of stuff like that. It is redefining dinosaur classifications. It's determining how certain species of ostrich went extinct.
Yeah.
It's so paleontologists are losing their job.
Well,
except they're not. They're just doing twice as much work as they used to.
Yeah. So
it's great for now.
Well,
it's like the cotton Jenny.
The cotton Jenny.
Or spinning Jenny, whatever it's called.
The spinning Jenny. The car versus the horse.
What was his name? Piston Hammer Johnson or whatever his name was. Yeah. The American hero who raced the railroad spike driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever his name was. Humans are going to be better at first, and it's going to just make their lives easier. And then they're going to be totally replaced.
But, so, Ford. Good old Mr. Ford.
Yep.
He changed the working day hours.
Mm-hmm.
And because he found out it was more efficient, it worked better. And he gave us the 9 to 5 2-day weekend.
Yeah.
Mr. Ford was not a good man.
Well, he didn't do it because he's a good man.
Yeah, he didn't do it because he's a good man.
He did it because it made him more money.
Yeah. Now, he looked into the future, and he saw, part of the reason why he did it is the automation of his factories was going to be insane because he was making cars.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of stuff to improve automation. He had a bunch of very smart people working for him as well, and he was very smart. And they were automating making cars. And he foresaw that we'd be working 4-day weeks in the future and less hours even after that. And that never happened. But Ford, so this was his big prediction that we'd have like shortly after he died. But he also foresaw that automation, the way things are going, after a certain point, humans wouldn't have to work. And this thought has been around for a long time.
I'm not sure.
But it's never happened. Like, we have automation, and one person now does the job, and other people do other things. And we still work the same amount, and we just increase our output rather than satisfying at a level.
Well, there's also the aspect where...
there's more people as well.
Yeah, but Ford's 9 to 5, 5 days a week, was somewhat arbitrary. Mm-hmm. And so the reason that we haven't shrunk hours up until now isn't because automation isn't sufficient. It's because nobody's bothered challenging it.
Yeah.
I think I talked about this in the podcast years ago. Even Perpetual Guardian decided they'd do an experiment where they did 4-day weeks part time, and they found productivity stayed about exactly the same. Yeah. It didn't go up, but it stayed basically exactly the same, except their employees were slightly happier and they were getting sick less often.
Yeah.
Which means in the very long run, they will probably see a productivity boost, or at the very least, they might be able to lower their employees' wages because they're happier at their job anyways.
Yeah.
So it does seem like Perpetual Guardian might have found the sweet spot there.
So a lot of jobs are going to get replaced.
Yes. And a lot of new ones will be created.
Yes.
And then replaced.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the rate of replacement is going to be crazy. Like, the...
Well, that's why I say, like, I foresee that the job I'm doing right now, in 1 to 2 years, if things continue at the pace they are, and it seems like they will, me or someone else like me, who's a young guy who's interested in computers, or young gal, whatever, just a young person, who's interested in computers and is doing this work, and will interface these softwares to completely, well, make the job way easier to do.
Yeah. Now, there is an interesting aspect here because we live in the Yukon. And when I was a kid, we were about 15 years behind the rest of North America in technology. And right now, we're more like 3 to 5 years behind the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Except our internet, which is even further behind. But even that has been changing rapidly since the pandemic. We've been trying to get on board with the rest of the world. So now fiber optic is becoming much more common around here. It's slower fiber optic than most places, but we didn't have fiber optic whatsoever. We were using phone lines.
All right, just you think we're getting better. When I took a bus in Alberta, this was a bus ride to go to the airport. I was driving through rural countryside and cities. I had full internet access the whole time on that bus.
No, but we were having troubles using stationary web pages here. But we've caught up to the point where we can now watch videos again. Mm-hmm. Or for the first time.
Yeah.
We've never been able to watch videos here, actually. Like, I used to have to buffer YouTube videos for about 15 minutes per 10-minute video. And then YouTube changed its system so you couldn't buffer anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you can only buffer for 1 or 2 minutes now on YouTube, which most people probably don't even notice because it doesn't matter. But here it mattered a lot because it meant you could only watch videos 5 minutes at a time. Mm-hmm. And... but we're catching up. But the question here is, will AI leapfrog that or not? Like, so with your job, you have this archaic little software, right? Yeah. The only way an AI is going to improve that software, unless it gets a lot better, which it very well could in the next couple months, like 6 months or a year, right now, is that someone has to know what that software is doing. What formulas are it doing? And then you go to the AI and you say, can you make me a input-output system that does this in a nice way? And then it gives that to you. I mean, right now, if you have the proficiency, you could probably create a better software already.
Yeah.
But the problem is that the whole AI integration is reliant on all 12 of you, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
One of you actually deciding to roll up your sleeves and start learning how to use a machine learning algorithm.
Yeah.
And the chances of any of you doing that are fairly low.
Yeah.
Now, I guess the thing is, your job, it's rare here, but if someone in Toronto decides to do this, they can then share it with you guys, and it'll become industry standard. And because we now have more up-to-date internet here, you can send these AI improvements through the internet. So we might, like, you know how most of Africa, people got smartphones before landlines?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have the money to put in landlines, and then cell phones were invented, and everyone got cell phones. So I guess not smartphones, but they have cell phones.
Yeah.
Like everyone in Africa owns a cell phone, basically.
Yeah.
And that was weird here. It's like, what? You're like rich if you have a cell phone, or you're a businessman or something. But in Africa, it was just, we're going to skip the expensive step. So that could happen here, where we skip the good software step and just go straight to AI.
Yeah.
Because software,
Well, no, this software is kind of the standard that we're playing with.
yeah, well, so you're already doing that to an extent, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, like video games here used to be way out of date. Like we'd get the old ones in the bargain bin, but now you can just send them over the internet, and so you go to Steam and you can buy Elden Ring on release day, or you can download. You're going to be able to download Tears of the Kingdom the day it comes out.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that before. You had to wait for a couple months for it to get shipped up here, and it's going to be, and the rate. Now the problem, like you're saying, it'll replace your job and that'll be great. But the difference is going to be that the production line that Ford had, we still have today, less so. It slowly became more and more automated over time. The thing is, a year from now, your job is going to be replaced, right?
Yeah.
And then 6 months from then, the new job you have is going to be replaced. And then 3 months from then, the new job you have is going to be replaced.
So let me walk you through my job, because this is interesting. I'm going to talk about AI steps I can improve. So I go to a person's house and I take images from the outside.
Yeah.
Then I go inside it and I basically measure its volume. So I get the internal size of the house. I look at what systems they have. So they have a furnace. I take a picture of that furnace. I look at what brand it is, what it runs off, what kind of fuel. I do that with their hot water tank, and I measure the windows of their house. So that's basically the steps I go through. So I get all the relevant information about their house for energy efficiency.
Yeah.
And I measure the thickness of their walls. I ask them, okay, what's inside your walls? They usually don't know. So I go, your wall's about 8 inches thick.
Take a quick core sample.
Well, no. But your wall's about 8 inches thick.
Yeah.
So siding plus gypsum, we're going to subtract an inch for all that stuff. So your wall's made out of 2x6.
Yeah.
People are going to insulate as much as they can inside there. So there is going to be 6 inches of batt insulation. That's R20 insulation.
Yeah.
So basically, I figure out what a house is. Then I record all this information, and then I ask them, okay, what do you want to do? And they go, well, I'm looking to get solar. Okay, great. Or I'm looking to upgrade my walls. Great. Or I just want general recommendation. All right, I'll throw your house into my simulation software, because that's what basically I have, and I'll figure out what upgrade works best. Now I take this information, and I put it into a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet's the official tracker of the data. Then I take this spreadsheet and I put it into the software. Then with that software, I put it into a second bit of software which makes a generator. And then I upload that and I send them the results. So I use the main software, Hot 2000. It's kind of archaic. So AI could improve it. It could make it so I just have to put stuff into the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So I just fill in the spreadsheet information.
And then you ask it whatever question you want.
Yeah, I ask a few questions, and it asks me a few questions, because not all the information will be relevant there, because I have to do some fill-in. And so I could create bigger fields for information put in. So there's that step there. That's a good interface. Can keep the uploading, because it doesn't take that much effort. Could make a more automatic upload, but that's just like software, and maybe I could help with that. So there is phone applications, which is you can take a picture of a building.
Yeah.
So like inside a room. And then you can put a dot and you can draw a line and it'll measure how long the counter surface is for you.
Yeah. But the AI can just draw the line for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
your job will be to take pictures of a house.
That's a thought of... So I go to a house, right? And so the AI... Let's get really sci-fi with this. So I have this big old tablet thing, or even just a phone. And I say, all right, I'm doing my work. And so I hold it up and I take a front picture of the house.
You have one of those orbs from Alien.
Yeah.
You throw it in the air and it shoots out lasers everywhere.
I don't want to get that sci-fi with this. So I'm not... No new technology. No new hardware. Only software.
Yeah.
So we're just working software. But I have a good, powerful phone. And so I take a picture of the front half of a house.
Yeah.
And it goes... And it looks at it. And so it can sort of figure out, all right, I sort of know what this house is. And so... Then it says, all right, take pictures of all sides of the house. So I take pictures of all sides of the house, and it goes, whoa, there's a weird nub on this house. of a bit of mapping that doesn't exist. So go take that picture. And I take it, and it gives me a little green check mark. It's like, all right, you've mapped the house on the outside.
Yeah.
Now, based on the outside, it goes, okay, now go take some more pictures. And it basically tells me which pictures to take. And so I take these pictures inside the house. And so it can create a map through all these pictures. And then, I forgot stuff. I also have a giant fan I have to run. And this fan basically measures the coefficient of friction through the house. And basically how much airflow is coming in and out. So I take these pictures, then I run the fan. And then I say, okay, these are upgrades. Now I have my report done.
There once was a man named Stanley. Stanley worked behind number 223
Yes.
in his office. He had a job pushing buttons all day. The computer told him which buttons to press, and he pressed them. And Stanley was happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I'm describing there, with these AI, is a total possibility.
Yeah. It becomes... So the interesting thing is that...
Someone has to want to go ahead and do this. One of the things.
Yes, but with GPT-5, let's say, so I'm using Stable Diffusion 2.3 right now through Hugging Face to make pictures. Yeah. And about 1 in 8 pictures is good.
Yeah.
And even then they have some stuff that's weird about them. But I've seen Midjourney's new model, which makes flawless images 100% of the time, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you take the best Stable Diffusion image, and that's like an average new Midjourney image.
Yeah.
They're unbelievably good. Like, this is the thing where artists start getting... Before, artists had to tweak the pictures. Yeah. Now artists are like, this looks better than where I'm going to end my original drawing. This is getting worrying.
Yeah.
So GPT-4 right now could probably already do what you're asking if you gave it enough directions and enough feedback and you...
But I did a little bit of interfacing.
But GPT-5 or 6, you might be able to sit down with and say, this is what I want. Is it possible? And it's like, yeah, I could do that. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So you say you need someone to actually sit down and do it, but it might be very easy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So right now, someone to sit down and do it right now with number 4.
You have to have a bit of knowledge and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But with number 5.
Number 5, I think, or number 6.
Yeah. Like even number 4 is not out for the public yet, right?
Yeah.
But it might turn out that you are just fiddling around with number 4 and you say, or you could do this with ChatGPT right now if you wanted. What numbers are you getting? You're getting the, there is formula you're already using, right?
Yes.
So in theory, ChatGPT might already be able to do this. Like do the calculations for you. You might be able to say, can you calculate the efficiency score or whatever it's called of a house? Yeah. And it's like, yes, given variables. And it says yes. And then you say to it, what variables do you need? Mm-hmm. And it says, I need these 4. And you say, okay, with these variables, what's the efficiency rating of that house? Like, I don't know if you've tried that, but...
No, I haven't.
It might already work. And if it doesn't, GPT-4, it might work. So it could just be you fiddling around in your room, not trying to improve your life whatsoever.
Yeah.
You're just fiddling around and you're like, oh, wow, this makes my job like 90% easier. Now the question is...
It's a little more than that, I will say.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than
that. But let's say you're fiddling around in your room with GPT-4 and you learn that you can ignore the Hot 20, you can ignore the spreadsheets. All you have to do is record like 12 variables and you stick it in and that replaces Hot 20 for you and it replaces the spreadsheets for you. You still have to do everything else.
Yeah.
You still have to figure out what the material is. You still have to measure the walls. You still have to take all the pictures. You still have to do blower door tests, whatever.
Yeah.
But you just do this, right? So here's my question to you.
Do you tell anyone?
Do you tell anyone?
Yes.
Because you don't want anyone...
Well, that's so... I've had this thought, right?
Was AI invented 10 years ago? And the AI engineers don't want to reveal how easy their job is.
So, when I was working at a mineral lab, I was in there, and I was doing the work, and it's a lot of manual labor.
Yeah.
And there's like a whole bunch of different parts of the job. And you just stand there and you think. That's all you do in that job because it's super brain dead.
Yeah.
Like you basically have to make sure not to get your fingers destroyed by the grinder.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure not to breathe in toxic gas or dust, I guess. And you're good.
That's why the Joe Rogan podcast was invented.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
And so you stand there and you think. And when the guy hired me, he basically told me like, I would think about all the things I'd do with money. I would think about like business ventures, all these different things. Like he was telling me all of his different thoughts he had. So I'm standing there. I'm working in the far left corner of the room, and what's going through my head is, how can I basically like forward this place? Like, how can I automate this whole building to make it show only one or two people need to run this whole operation? And I was also thinking about, I talked with someone else who's worked in the mining industry, and he said, yeah, that's a make work job. If you go to, so that's a make work job in mineral lab you work in.
Right.
If you were to go to a place in America who's the same job, like they do core sampling and they give that to mines,
it's already all automated.
It's already all automated.
Well, that's the thing. Up here, we're way behind, right?
Well, he told me that, so it's make work job. But anyways, so that was like my fantasy while working there. I was like, how can I automate this whole place? Because it was just like an interesting thought experiment. So when I was doing fire smarting, I was thinking about, like, if I had like psychic powers and I could just like knock down all these trees that need to be knocked down, then like gather all the wood together and instantly burn it safely and efficiently. So there's the one level of, so I could do that and I just do it and then we get like paid by the hour, but I've done my work and then I like leave for the day or whatever. The other thought is, you have this power and so you basically, you do all this work of this one specific job, like the fire smarting with psychic power. Or when in construction work, I was thinking like you use your psychic powers, like there's a stand of trees nearby and you basically tear apart the trees and you like plane them and you like have some nails nearby. And so you build a house psychically.
Right.
And so you can build a house psychically in like 20 minutes or less with these powers. And one thing, you put a bunch of people out of a job. But the other thing, you've just built a house in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you didn't even need all the material because you could just like turn a stand of trees into the wood required.
Being sure.
Maybe. I don't know.
You have to dry wood and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, well, your psychic powers, like you draw out the water. Like, these are insane psychic powers I'm talking about here. So
you should just transmute dirt into wood at that point.
Well, maybe. I don't know. But my point that I'm getting at is, if you're a singular person who has this talent, and you can just like construct a whole block of houses in an afternoon.
Yeah. Should you? Or should you do one per day like everyone else?
Yeah. Well, not even, like, people take months to build a house.
Yeah.
But also on top of that, like, if you can build in a day, does that change that value of a house? Because it's still a good house.
I think it does. I think it drastically lowers the price of houses.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a good thing. Because houses are crazy expensive.
Yeah, houses are crazy expensive. But it's just this weird thing of, like, having, like, that secret little program thing of, like, I can do my job and I can, like, cut down the work. Like, the first part. So I play around with number 4.
Yeah.
And I cut down the back end. So everything else is still the same with gathering the data. But the back end work, which is the data entry.
Yeah.
I cut that down from, it's about 2.5 hours for me, 2 to 2.5 hours.
Right, you make it like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes of work. So I cut that down. And then GP5 comes out and has like imaging technology.
Yeah.
And so I sneakily, like, I just need to take pictures of this whole house.
Well, number 4 already does have imaging.
Yeah, but I'm saying like 5 is really easy for me, like attaching my cell phone. And so I take pictures. And so I basically have to drive to a location, spend about 10 minutes there, and I don't even need to do this entry because taking the pictures is what's this entry.
Yeah.
So I drive to a location and I spend 20 minutes at the location because I'm like talking to the person, what do they want. I have to do the blower door still.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be really hard for the AI to do the blower door.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how, like, you could use sonar maybe to do it instead.
Yeah. Light scanning.
Yeah. Like a LiDAR.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'd need a LiDAR machine. So
yeah.
That's another thing with a lot of this is hardware is a big limitation.
Mm-hmm.
Like the AI can come up with a brilliant automated system, but it has to build it.
You know, that's why I'm just trying to go with like taking pictures, and so I still have to do a blower door. So it's like I do 20 minutes out of the house, and then like 10 minutes of back end stuff. So I have like this job done in 30 minutes through me being sneaky.
Yeah.
Do I then go tell everyone, hey?
Well, what's the question is what happens, and you were talking about how everyone, like, we could live in a time where no one works, and so this is sort of the question of what happens. You do all this, right?
Yeah.
Does everyone with your job get paid the same to be working 2 hours a week, let's say?
Yeah.
Because the same output is getting generated, and that output is what we want. Or does one person now have the job of doing every single house in a big city?
Yeah.
And everyone else is out of the job. And either is an option. And I think what we have to do at some point...
Well, part of the pay of this job comes from the expertise of knowing what to do.
Well, so this is something I was going to add as well. Is there is a computers give you the answers you want, and so there. But the problem with these algorithmic AIs is they have crazy false positives that seem plausible. So you need someone with, like, if it tells you, right, the R value of that house is 10,000, right?
No.
So you like type that in and you get your answer, and you're like, this is a very efficient house, right?
Yeah.
You actually still need training to second guess the product. Now, what you can do, you can replace the training with a little scale that says, double check your math if the numbers are in this yellow zone.
Yeah.
And throw out the math if the numbers are in this red zone. And if it's in this green zone, it's probably correct.
Yeah.
Like, you could replace your, 3 months of training?
Yeah.
With a little, like, color swatch. It says, if it's in this range, it's good. Otherwise, double check. Otherwise...
Yeah, exactly.
But
it was a year of training for me. I did it for a year.
But you still need the training. Yeah. And so you will still have the advantage for now. Mm-hmm. And so even if an AI can do all this, you're still in demand.
But also part of it is, so... I have this job right now for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then I have to do a test to get this job again. So this job currently for me right now is a 3-year job.
Yeah.
Then I figure out, do I want to keep doing it or not after that 3-year period? Does this job still exist in 3 years?
Does any job still exist in 1 year?
Yes.
We are... You know, when the pandemic started, and I think you were talking about it a bit and I was talking about it a bit, but no one else was talking about it. And we were looking at China and we were saying, this is looking kind of bad. Like, it's escaping all these quarantines China's doing, and it's in Italy. And the sort of general thought was not... It wasn't ignorance. It wasn't like, oh, it's impossible for a pandemic to happen. It was just, look, this is Italy and China. It's not going to happen here. And it's not even stupid or ignorant, right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's so hard to comprehend your entire world changing instantly. Yes. It's like if a meteor hit... So, if the Tunguska event had happened, like, I can't remember the number, it's like 14 minutes later.
Yeah.
Which, just like a particle of dust slows the meteor down before it hits Earth, basically. Yeah. It would have hit Moscow. It would have killed 1 million people.
Yeah.
And Soviet Russia would have never happened. Russia would have never been a superpower. The history of the world would have been changed massively.
Yeah.
The Tsar's reign would have been at a total end. The entire royal family would have been wiped out. It might have defaulted to England or something because they're so closely related. Like, it would have vastly changed history.
Yeah.
Would have maybe also boosted Christianity, because Christianity was failing right around that time. But it would have been like, wow, look at this place of sin, or however you want to spin it. Or it could have been the Muslims could have been like, look, those Catholics, they think that God's on their side, but look what happened to their city.
Yeah.
And everyone becomes Muslim. These things are possible.
Yeah.
But they feel like it'll never happen. Like a nuclear war could break out right now.
Yeah.
While we're recording. And it doesn't seem... You can't even imagine everything changing. But that...
I reinstalled Fallout 4 recently, and literally Fallout 4... All the other Fallout games are your generations in the vault, and you come out of it. Fallout 4 has a very interesting opening.
Yeah, you're just in a normal house and then the war.
You're in a normal house, and a guy you're the man of the house is a war hero.
Yeah.
And so a man from Vault Tech comes up, and he says to you, hey, the man of the house is a war hero. So you've been freely approved to go to Vault 111.
Yeah.
And so you sign a bit of paperwork that says, we're going to Vault 111. Then nuclear war breaks out about 5 minutes after you sign that. And so the couple runs to the vault. They get in there. They're cryogenically frozen. And then they come out in the wastelands. Yeah. And so the whole world has changed.
Yeah. So these things are possible. And right now we're in a time where most jobs might be gone in 1 year.
Yeah.
And not that people won't be working. Like I said, you have two options. You either fire a bunch of people or you make a bunch of people's jobs easier.
Yeah.
And the question is, which one do you want to do? And now you might say, well, it's not fair to fire all these people, right? But if you don't fire all the people, you also get this incredibly unfair situation, which we already have a lot with governmental jobs, among others, where... So in the United States right now, there's 10 million job openings, and there's 9 million people looking for work. And those 9 million people have been looking for work for like 2 years.
Yeah.
and they're looking at all these people with these cushy government jobs that do nothing, but they're allowed to stay there because you can't just fire someone, and people need jobs. And these people are brilliant and smart and trying their hardest, and they just can't get any work, and they're really trying, and they would be far better than the people in those positions. And then you get all the boomers saying, "Wow, kids are so lazy these days," or whatever it might be, and that would be compounded if your job was taking you an hour a week, and there's no one else can even hope to get into the job market because every job is now an hour a week job. So now I guess what you could say is that if everyone got fired and you just had like 10 people doing all the work of society, that isn't helping either. Then you have a bunch of people that can't get jobs. Now but on the plus side, you can say, wow, those people holding up society are hard workers. So it's sort of like, do you want more people? It's almost like a socialist versus libertarian perspective. Do you want most people to be unemployed, but everyone that's working deserves to be having that job and having that money? Or do you want most people to have jobs, but not deserve those jobs they have, and to have the little guys, 5%, always desperate and looking for work?
Given just how fast, I was about to say, I think it's closer to 3 years of this happening, and you're saying 1 year, but given how fast, I'm getting these ads for these products of this will increase your workflow.
So at our mom's office, and I think whoever did this, I'm surprised I haven't run into them in town, because there would be all this shaking from their balls as they drag across the ground. Because my mom's office has been getting multiple seminars on how to use ChatGPT to augment your work. And it's like, I saw an interview recently with Sam Altman, the maker of ChatGPT. And he's saying, I have no idea how this works. I have no idea what it can do. I have no idea how useful it is. And these people go to the government and say, hey, pay us like $1,000 to give a seminar to your workers on what this product is and what it means for you. It's like the geniuses in charge of this have no idea what it is, no idea how it works. And you can just walk up to the government and why did they hire you in the first place? Do you normally do this? Are you like a governmental con man that goes around?
Yes. Yes, they are.
And
they're a 50% con man, actually.
Do you have to be like a long-term con man, or can I just walk up to the government tomorrow and say, hey, I understand technology?
Some of them are con men, and some of them understand technology and go, this is useful. I understand it more than these people do, so I'll teach it to you. So when I made that tutorial for that bit of software, so there could be some person who's been using this software on and off for 20 years. I don't know if it's been around that long. Let's go with 5 years. They're probably way better than me at the software. Or I'm some kid, and it's like, all right, we need a tutorial for this software. Here's all the documentation we've gathered on. I read these documents. It's like, all right, this is how you use this software. I put it together. I go, thanks for the paycheck. I never touch that piece of software again. I've completely forgotten how it's worked. However, they paid me for that tutorial because I could figure it out in a month of how to use this thing.
But no one understands ChatGPT.
Yes, but...
And these people are going into the offices and saying, yeah, this is how you use it, see? It's like, and that makes me wonder, my tinkering skill set doesn't allow me to really do anything, but I can figure basically anything out, right? If I want to do something, I should clarify with software. If I want to do something with software, I can do it. There's very few limitations I've ever run into with that sort of thing.
I need to get you a better processing power so you can just figure stuff out more.
Well, so the question is...
I just need to sponsor you. I need to get you a powerful computer.
Well, I'll probably find my limits if I start really pushing it. But my question is... And like I said, it's tinkering. I'm not writing big programs. I'm doing little tweaks here and there. But in any... I can't push to any distance, right? But I can do it in any field, let's say. I can mod Minecraft. I can make a mod for Minecraft. I can delete or do a massive registry edit to Windows. I can... And I'm not inventing anything. I'm just finding the people that figured it out and taking their stuff for myself.
Well, so with my work, there's a thing about photo documentation. And talking about the dates of the photos are very important, because whenever you take a photo with a phone, it dates it. And this is one of the evidence things they use is, so you took a photo and you said that on this day, so you took that photo there, so we have proof. And they're saying, there was this thing about this guy did all this work. We're just talking about this. And it's took these photos, but he's already done this work here. And so documentation-wise, he's not going to be able to get the funding because they'll look at the dates of the phones. And so they're saying, like, the dates on the pictures will stop any corruption from happening. And I'm just saying this, give me, 3 hours, and I am 100% certain I could change the metadata on any picture for its date work.
Yeah, easily, yes. But
I'm giving myself a huge window of time.
Yeah.
3 hours. I can change the metadata on all these pictures.
So my
And so they're talking about the metadata will stop any of this corruption. So even if your attempt is are you serious?
Anything that people can make, other people can break, basically.
Yeah.
is I think the way to look at it. Because at the end of the day, computers. Now, these things I was telling you about, these programmable hardware, they might actually be unhackable in the traditional sense because you would have to do physical changes. But you can still just physically go in there and change it, I guess. But
Well, actually, on the unhackable, there's a joke job posting on Programming Humor, which is looking for someone who's interested in machine learning, pays $100,000 a year, have to be able to sit by a stool and have a large amount of patience and sit on a stool and have a large amount of patience for nothing to happen. Job requirements: ability to use a hatchet and throw buckets of water, as well as unplugging electrical wires and pressing buttons.
Yeah.
And so the whole idea of the job is killing a server. And so it's oh no, the this one centralized computer thing's getting dangerous. Dump water on it. Shut off all its power. The ultimate manual override is a hatchet.
Well, so going back to why I was talking about my tinkering ability, which is just sort of, and a lot of people can do this, but my question is, instead of not thinking of that as, because I can't go to Microsoft and develop the next greater word for them or something. So I think of it as kind of a personal skill that's just to make my
life easier.
Yeah, or make my computer the way I want it, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm fairly happy with Windows, even though most people have problems with Windows. I don't have those problems. I don't have ads on Windows. I don't have tracking on Windows. I don't have, I've got Windows XP with Windows 10, basically.
Yeah.
Sort of, that sort of thing. Instead of making that my own, should I just be going to governments and saying, I can teach your employees how to
not be boomers.
Because all you're doing with ChatGPT, right, is you're going to people and you're saying, this is a useful technology. Look at what it can do, right? That's, so I could just feel this is how you use Paint. Paint is very useful because you can draw. What's your job? Oh, you're the fish market? Well, you could make a poster for your fish market and advertise it in Paint. Look, I'm making a fish right now. I just grabbed the pencil tool and it's really useful. This program, this will cost you extra, but you can grab a tablet and that'll allow you to draw like you're actually drawing. And then you can make a little cartoon fish.
Not very good fish as well. You can use this software here called
Stable
Midjourney.
Yeah, you can use Stable Diffusion or Midjourney. You can pay for a subscription on Dream Labs or whatever it's called.
And it will make any fish you like.
It'll make you any fish you like.
In any style.
And if the fish doesn't work, type in different words and try again.
Yes.
Or hit these sliders randomly and see what happens. Sometimes you have to hit these random sliders a couple times to make it work.
I had a closing thought on the AI, Far Side of Evil.
Yeah, about the humans going to start a nuclear war.
Yeah, so Far Side of Evil is humans that develop nuclear bomb technology.
Yeah.
And a group of aliens basically show up to observe them.
Yeah, and if the humans avoid nuclear war, they will allow them to join the Federation. And if they kill themselves, then too bad for them.
Yeah, it's just observation. So, during the development of nuclear weapons in the Cold War, there's massive reports about UFOs just flying all around these military bases.
Yeah.
And there's supposedly this one story of there's this military base, they're sitting in there, and this is a nuclear bunker. And guys up top the bunker go, there is these objects that are moving around possibly, or this one object is moving around possibly above the base. What should we do? Because this looks like an enemy flying ship. Mm-hmm. We want to shoot it down. And so they sent this message down into the bunker. And the general there at the time said, okay, we're just going to fire our missiles at them. Not the nuclear missiles, but we're going to fire our missiles at them and just blow them out there, whatever it is. And every single system inside the base shut down after he basically made that decision.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but it seemed like aliens had a huge amount of interest for the Cold War period, and then it sort of fizzled away, and like there's waves of interest they seem to have. So we recently had the balloons,
Yeah.
and various other UFOs. So what if the interest is not the nuclear weapons, or that's like one side of interest for aliens, but sort of still the far side of evil interest?
Interest is an extinction event.
Is AI.
Yeah.
Like, not even an extinction event, but this is the next technology. Like, so the Vulcans in Star Trek, when the Warp 1 drive was developed, after the guy did his test flight of it and he landed it, a Vulcan ship landed on Earth, and Vulcans came out and said, "Yo, we're welcome to the stars, buddy."
Yeah. What?
But so that's just like welcome to stars, but even just like, oh, is that what they're doing now? Oh, that's really interesting.
So a much like Hanlon's razor here, Occam's rather, a much simpler explanation could be that there are spy drones.
Yeah.
Like even the one okay, simplest explanation is that this didn't happen. But you can also say that they're spy drones, and nuclear power plants were a thing that people hadn't seen before, and so there was foreign powers spying on them with their super advanced spy drones.
Yeah.
Now the question, I guess, is, okay, one, did it happen at all?
Yeah.
Two, assuming it happened, is it more likely that a foreign nation has super advanced spy drones, or that aliens were observing? Because that is a question. Which one is it? And also, were they super advanced spy drones, or did they appear to be super advanced spy drones, and they were actually like balloons caught in a vortex and moving like you couldn't believe because they were actually completely out of control?
Yeah.
And same thing again. Oh, America's making great strides in AI or something else. Let's send all the spy balloons over.
Yeah.
Or what sounds like happened is Chinese spy balloon came over. The Americans shot it down, and they're like, wow, this was flying in a zone that we don't normally scan for. So let's change our sensors to scan for this object size in this zone. And then they notice there's like dozens of things in this zone.
Yeah.
So they start panicking and scrambling, and they send fighter jets everywhere to take these things down.
Yeah. But I'm not even talking about just the balloons. Like, there has been a lot of UFOs. Our dad had a UFO sighting. So, because all this was going on, and he was sitting out in the hot tub, and he's looking at the sky, because he does that a lot. And he just saw this ball of light just zip across the sky, stop, and sort of just move about a little bit, and then zip off. And he said he's never seen anything like it. And he's like, how many years has he been in that place? It's like 16, 17 years. And he does a lot of stargazing and night skydazing. He's like saying, in the 15 years whatsoever, he's never seen anything ever like that. And so he felt like it was a UFO.
So you think AI might be attracting UFOs?
Oh, I'm just saying that's a possibility. Maybe singularity-wise, like, it's very human. There can only be one. Maybe it's was the wall of civilizations getting to the star.
Yeah.
They make an AI and it murders them.
Yeah.
Then these AI create spaceships and they go off flying. And it's like, ooh, there's going to be another one of us soon, or I better kill him soon. Let's see.
But why would you visibly scan for an AI? Like maybe you have to. Maybe to read a computer at range, you have to get there close and send your scanner out or something. Why would you go above a hot tub?
Well, it wasn't, but it was like off in the night sky. You saw.
Right. But I mean, like, why aren't they all centered in California or something where?
Well, here's a different thing that I've always thought about. So there's this whole thing of like, why would the alien kidnap this person?
Yeah. Or
why would the UFO be there? So let's say that like your interstellar technology isn't even like, oh, Enterprise ship is a several $1 million ship. Like, it's a family car. And some aliens are just perverts and they like want to stick things in people's butt.
Yeah.
But
then why would that activity be corresponding with the technology of...
Well, it could be a very interesting thing. Another thing is maybe they don't have it. Like...
Okay, I figured
in civilization, right, you can completely ignore the naval side of the tech tree for a very long time. So what if you have interstellar travel and then you see, wow, what's going on here? Let's scan these guys.
Right, but then why are they scanning randomly, but around the world, rather than focused on historical locations? However, they are only appearing during historical events. So one explanation I can think of is events that are about to cause or have the high potential to cause the extinction of humanity. signatures you would recognize, like the discovering of nuclear power.
Yeah.
Or the beginning advancement of AI.
So it's time travelers?
No, it's aliens that have recognized these signatures as the human race has a 10% or 90% chance to go extinct.
Yeah.
So let's fly around and take a bunch of pictures before they're all gone.
Yeah.
Let's get a quick snapshot before they're gone, just in case.
Damn it, they shot down my drone. My mom got me that for my birthday, and now I've...
It's like how the penguins were all... like everyone wanted to kill a penguin and stuff one before they all went extinct. So it could be the same thing with... you want to...
And so that's why we're getting so many different qualities of drone.
Yeah, it's just everyone rushing to get a stuffed human before they're all gone.
Yeah, but it's like that's why we have easily shot down balloons, because it's just like some hobbyist is just sending out like his fleet of balloons, and then the pill thing is like some
Group of scientists.
Yeah.
And then there's some rich
eccentric
who just hires a group of mercenaries to go grab as much as they can.
Yeah.
And like the last penguin was actually killed by a collector. It didn't die naturally.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this thing's going to go extinct. Let's kill it so that we can always have its memory.
Yeah.
And so I think it could be something like that if we're going with the those two facts.
Yeah. I just thought it was an interesting thought, though, I don't know, maybe people want more UFOs. Maybe I'm just more in tune of listening to people talking about UFOs now, because that's something I have an interest in.
Well, what's certainly going on...
Because I'm just saying there seems to be more UFOs right now.
I don't know, but it's hard to... I don't know if anyone can actually say, because the major change that has happened since 2021 is they are taken more seriously, which means more people will be willing to talk about what they've seen. That doesn't mean how much has been seen has actually changed whatsoever. It just means more people are willing to actually talk about it.
True enough.
So it's very hard to say if it's increased or not.
Mm-hmm.
The only way that you could determine an increase would be if everyone you know was suddenly seeing UFOs, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas in the rest of your life, they hadn't been.
Yeah.
So,
well, even then, our dad talked to me about the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah.
And because we were talking about UFOs at one point, it's like, do you know about the Phoenix Lights? And I know a bit about them, and he told me more about them, and that was kind of a crazy event.
So our mom saw a UFO years and years ago.
Yeah.
She saw this giant silver cigar flying by over the mountains. And so it's hard to say if there's been an increase with the people I know, at least. There's also the aspect of... Well, I guess it's not relevant, but like the UFOs could just be like governmental technology that they're... So here's the thing. Why is the media being more willing to talk about UFOs? And it could be because they want people to think that everything they're seeing is UFOs rather than military craft that has been detected far more than they would like. Now, a lot of people are saying it's to ease people into finally revealing UFOs, but I have never been convinced, and maybe I could be, that people would panic in the slightest about confirmation that aliens or UFOs are revealed. I really don't think it would change people at all. No one was panicking about COVID. No one's panicking about AI right now. Like, people don't care.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy had the greatest example of the human nature.
Yeah.
There was that race that was looking at the night sky.
Yeah.
And they were just completely satisfied looking at the night sky. And then a ball of darkness went up around their planet. And so they couldn't see the stars anymore. And so it drove them insane.
Yeah.
So there's that race in the galaxy. But humans have the unique feature that no other species in the galaxy has, which is you can present them with the most amazing thing, and they'll get bored of it.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, so what? And that's like the huge thing. It's like, okay, sure.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah, and I really think that...
It's like, this is amazing. Like, look how mind-blowing this flower is. It's so cool looking. It's got all these colors. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And then they walk off.
There's this very annoying quirk of human nature to do with conspiracies, where people who laugh at and dismiss conspiracies and conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists talk about how conspiracies never happen. And so you tell them a bunch of conspiracies that happen.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, but everyone knows that. That was never a conspiracy. Because we instantly forget what everyone was saying about an issue before everything changed.
Yes.
So, like UFOs, you talk to people and say, well, yeah, everyone knew there was UFOs and it was getting covered up. It's like, no, this was something that you were laughed at. Like, I was watching a show from 2001, and the whole quirky thing was the quirky character believed in UFOs and everyone was laughing at her, but it turned out she was correct, and that was the big joke of the show.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow, UFOs are actually real. People were mocking people about this back in 2001. And in 2007, when that first Tic Tac video was released, people were saying, this is clearly fake, this is obviously fake, this is why it's fake. And now in 2021, military said, no, that was real, that was leaked, and there's 140 others. And then last year, they said, Kate, we found like 300 more on top of that.
Yeah.
And
there's also that report release, which is, there are UFOs. No more comment. Seriously?
Yeah, well, that was the one that said there's 140.
Yeah, but that's basically the declassification.
Yeah, but then there was one the year after that was released that said there's 300 of these things. And then even more recently, we had all these planes scrambling and shooting stuff down over the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
And senators who are being debriefed on it and pilots, they're getting asked, and they said, no, it's definitely not a balloon. Yeah. This thing didn't have an external force form of propulsion. And they were very clear to say these aren't balloons.
Yeah.
Now, apparently the way they are saying it, they could be rigid bodies with balloons inside them, so they could be blimps, but they're not like suspended from a balloon. Yeah. So there's room for doubt there. But they said it's a solid frame for the one in the Yukon, and I don't know what they said about the others, and they never found any of them, which is...
Oh, they never found any of the wreckage of the one they shot down?
No, which is interesting because someone pointed out, so you have crystal clear footage of a Russian jet dropping fuel on a Ukrainian jet for military propaganda, but you can't figure out where you shot down this plane. It's like you were able to film two jets doing a drive-by of one another with precision perfection, but you couldn't figure out where the balloon you shot down landed.
Yeah.
And it is kind of funny. It's hard to judge how difficult a problem is. That could very well be, one could be easy and one could be hard, but it is funny that they're so different.
Well, I mean, maybe they shot the thing, and it's like, oh no, turn on the cloak, because the missile did nothing but us found. So turn on the cloak to look like I'm crashing, and then it just teleports out of there.
Yeah. Well, so some of the obvious possibilities are, it turned out they shot down a hobbyist balloon or a party balloon or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's either embarrassing or it had someone in it, and they just killed like a US or Canadian citizen, and they really don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Or
they could have been Chinese military craft, and Xi Jinping and Biden went on the phone and said, okay, neither of us can admit this happened, otherwise we have declared war on each other, and we don't want to go to war. That would be the worst thing possible. So we'll just say we couldn't find the balloons.
Yeah.
And that's another high possibility. Because I doubt either country wants to go to war. So those are two high possibilities.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying there's no way aliens could be shot down, but I really don't think that's true. Just because you have one impressive technology...
That's what I was saying earlier, is they're coming here to look at our stuff.
It doesn't mean you have another. And if I go to the middle of the Amazon rainforest with a battleship laser, some of the most advanced weapons we have on Earth...
That sounds so cool.
Like an anti-missile laser.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm carrying this thing around somehow.
Yeah.
With my Boston Dynamics robots, and we're walking through the Amazon. An Amazon guy can still come up and stab me with a spear, and I will die.
A poisoned dart frog can land on your face, and you can die.
Yeah. It doesn't... Having better stuff still doesn't make you invincible to the other stuff.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm in a, depleted uranium tank... The Amazon guy probably can't break in, but he could probably still do a whole lot of stuff to me, like push it into a river.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, yeah, you're still not invincible. It'll just be harder for them to figure out how to deal with you. Now, obviously, the Spaniards did quite well against the Incas with 50 men. So it does give you an advantage a lot of times.
Yeah.
But, well, humanity already killed all the people that are willing to give up against slightly better foes.
Yeah.
Those people all died when the Inca were killed. Now it's all people that are willing to stab at the Kevlar until it gives or something, or classic choke out the Nemean lion.
Yeah, we only have the nutcases left on the planet.
Yeah, we killed out all the peaceful people that aren't creative in their ways of killing each other. People who care about sanctity over life. Like,
well, there's actually this very interesting sci-fi story. I can't remember what it was, but I just read the premise of it. And it's something else to do with humans and nuclear missiles, which is the whole galaxy is terrified of Earth because we have nuclear weapons. And they haven't figured them out, but they know just their potential yield.
There's a whole TV trope called Humans Are Space Orcs. Which is basically that idea.
Yeah, but it's basically like there's interstellar technology and they have all right weapons, but they're terrified of Earth because Earth isn't so good at the space travel, but man, does Earth have weapons. And so like every other species is just like, Earth's a little... Of course, Footfalls kind of says that's dumb. It's like War of the Worlds. However, how they fight each other is they just throw rocks at each other's planets.
Yeah.
So they have basic interstellar technology, and so it's a solar system at war. And we played that video game. That's also the idea. But they're basically just attaching rockets to giant boulders and launching at each other's planets.
Well, they're using mass drivers probably.
Yeah.
So they're very advanced rock throwers.
Yeah.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that weapon's way scarier than any nuclear missile.
Yeah. Well, I guess a mass driver could be rockets, but yeah, could be a big trebuchet or a railgun.
Well, they use railguns as well.
Yeah. But a railgun, that's what it does, is it shoots a big rock, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, I think...
Yeah, no, they have, like, a whole bunch of ways of trying to kill each other. Like, they fire radiation waves at each other and sterilize half the planets.
I think the most advanced sci-fi sort of weapon we've ever really come up with in a form of agreement is probably Gauss weaponry, which hasn't been invented. But that's like you send out magnetic waves with metal particles.
Yeah, well, I think photon torpedoes are also up there.
Yeah, I guess. But what is a photon torpedo? Is that actually anything?
Yes, it is. We can make them.
Okay. So you're what? That's just a fusion nuke or something.
It's a matter-antimatter reaction.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay, I guess.
And so it's deuterium, I think is it's called, which might be the sci-fi. But anyways, it's basically it's when we do a matter-antimatter reaction on Earth.
Yeah,
we're firing like a negatron against a positron.
Yeah,
and they actually release a lot of energy. And so in Star Trek, the idea is you basically have a piece of positive uranium and negative uranium. You have like a kilogram of each, and you're making it so they hit each other.
Right. So you're using antimatter, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an antimatter reaction.
So yeah, that would probably work pretty well.
It's basically a super nuke.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do the exact same thing as a nuke, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a super nuke because it's using negative and positive energy, and matter and antimatter. So a nuke gets its energy from the splitting of the bond, whereas a antimatter and matter reaction is actually the particles turning to energy, which is a lot scarier.
Yeah, it's pure mass to energy.
Yeah.
So it's just a more efficient nuke, I guess.
Yeah. And then there's the quantum torpedoes, which create a capsulation bubble in space. So they're basically destroying gravity and reforming it.
The thing I'm excited about with this advanced AI is how easy it is to make advancements when you know a bunch of stuff from a bunch of different fields. A lot of the great advancements are done by people from different fields who just come in and look at something and they say, yeah, I'm a chemist, so let me try out this biochemistry problem and solve it in no time. And if you give the AI a big enough active memory, which they want to do, I believe, you will be able to have it read a million papers at once and then look for commonalities and say, okay, here's a new element, here's a new cure for cancer, here's a new...
With the imaging as well, the imaging input, maybe we'll be able to give it that damn book you got me.
What, the game one?
No.
The game design book?
No. The book I can't read.
Oh, people have tried using machine learning on it before and they haven't figured it out.
Yeah, but this is the most advanced one yet.
The Voznov manuscript, whatever it's called. Voynich manuscript, yeah.
Like, try it with the most advanced one we got and see if it can make heads or tails.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's what happens, right? We put the Voynich manuscript in, like, we take pictures of the original. Like, actually, we have, like, a webcam set up for ChatGPT 5.
Yeah.
And it looks at the Voynich manuscript. and it opens up a portal to like hell or the warp.
Yeah.
And it's like just a prank. It's like once they develop a computer that can translate this, it's just going to give it some wacky code.
That's the great filter that Fermi theorized about. It was the Voynich manuscript.
Well,
Every planet starts with one.
yeah.
And once they understand it, it destroys the planet.
Yeah. That would be an interesting filter.
Well, I think there's so much about the world we don't know that there could very well be just things that appear and things disappear. There could be alternate dimensional things. I saw an interesting question recently. What's more likely, interdimensional travel or interspace travel? And so if we see a UFO, is that people from an alternate dimension or is that people from... So, for example, people are saying there might be people from an alternate dimension on Earth that are looking at the Ukraine-Russia war and saying, this looks like it could go nuclear. We're not happy. We're going to take a look and see what we can do about this. Because if anything that we're aware of could affect multiple dimensions at once, it would be a nuke.
Yeah.
And
well, there's also time travel. Like one of my favorite
or the CERN reactor, I guess.
One of my favorite Bob Gimlin videos is of the Jumping Man.
Yeah.
And he asked his so he got the old descriptions of the Jumping Man. And so he said to his amazing illustrators, like, all right, so this is what I think it looks like from the description. So could you draw this? And his illustrator draws Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And it's like, and his illustrator wasn't trying to draw Darth Vader. He's trying to draw what he's
got a panel of lights and a gas mask and yeah, it just looks exactly like Darth Vader.
And also he's saying, and it shot fire. But someone at that point in time, like, is it a brighter flashlight than anything you ever see? That would be like, how do I describe this? Like, it shot fire.
So the question is, did the costume designer for Darth Vader know about Spring Heel Jack?
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
But it could also just be that thing you mentioned a long time ago, which was that humans can only invent what they already know.
Yeah.
And so it could be that Darth Vader is one of those...
looking.
No, Darth Vader is one of those eternal
images
in our mind.
Yeah.
The man with the panel on his chest and the skull mask is that eternal form.
Yeah.
I read a Bible verse recently, which I thought was kind of...
So Spring Heel Jack's a time-traveling pervert. That is why I'm convinced he is. Because he would tear off women's clothing.
Maybe.
Like, that... Like, there's no reciprocity because he's a time traveler.
Right, but in the future, right?
Yeah.
People... There's been a terrible cataclysm.
Yeah.
And people had to adapt their genes to survive. And the only thing that can sustain them is eating women's clothing. And so when he goes back in time, he's just desperate for food because he forgot to bring enough women's clothing with him. And so he's grabbing all this clothing to save himself, to keep... Or it turns out that time travel...
is powered by stealing women's clothing.
Yeah, and so the only way he can stay in the past is by assaulting all these... That is such a good short story idea.
What, just taking the story of Spring Heel Jack and making him a time traveler?
No, like there's like a guy, he wants to go back in time to stop Hitler or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And he's like this really moral, ethical guy, and the only way to power his time machine is to steal women's clothing or like eat babies.
This is sounding more like an anime. Like, this is anime logic.
Yeah, it does sound kind of like a bad anime sort of thing. But no, I think if you did it as a short story and made it very silly, like sort of like Psyche or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like, you don't try to make it serious. You don't try to make a series out of it. You just make it a short one-off.
Look, Kill la Kill's great and you can't convince me otherwise.
See, that's just perverts trying to justify their... Like, look, okay. I'm not even going to call them perverts. I'm sorry. I'll take it back. You like what you like. That's fine.
People who like Kill la Kill are perverts.
But come on. Don't try to justify it. You're just embarrassing yourself. The thing, though, I don't understand about Kill la Kill is I really... Like, I haven't watched it, right?
Yeah.
But I don't get it. Like, the art looks ugly. It looks really ugly. I don't like the costumes. I don't like the art.
I think that's just an aesthetical appealing thing to you, different people. With
like, I don't like people that dress like... Okay. It's not the people I don't like. I don't like the looks of, like, I don't know, Belts' clothing or something. I'm not sure what you'd call it exactly. Like, it's not attractive. I think you either need to be vulnerable, which is to say naked, or you need to be complimenting yourself. You need to tantalize and conceal and also just display. Like clothing itself can be very beautiful.
Anyway, back to your ending thing.
Oh, you want to end?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll end with the Bible verse.
Yeah, the Bible verse.
Yeah, so I thought this was really interesting because young people, enjoy your youth. Be happy while you are still young. Do what you want to do and follow your heart's desire. But remember that God is going to judge you for whatever you do. That's Ecclesiastes 11:9, which is exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about the stripper thing.
Mm-hmm.
And on a couple episodes ago. And I think it kind of annoyed me. Like, I do all this thinking and all this reading, and it's like, why do I bother doing anything but read the Bible? Because it's already written it all down.
I mean, the Bible's a pretty incredible book.
I guess. Like, it's just, it's
like the Bible's a culmination of a huge amount of human knowledge, carefully handcrafted and picted.
Yeah.
And refined
for
thousands of years.
But the Bible is kind of like these AIs, right? Because the AIs are the sum of human knowledge.
Yeah.
And trying to take the best of each. And so is the Bible, right? And the same thing, I was talking about how your job, you will not be replaced because someone still needs to double check your work.
Yeah.
And you are the best person for that job right now. So if you cannot come to the conclusions of the Bible without the Bible, you might not understand why it was written in the first place, right? Like I've read the Bible before and I didn't get anything out of it. But I've learned a lot more, and now I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, wow, that's exactly the idea I was working at, where to serve God, you have to do what you want to do and follow your heart's desire.
It's much like the Zen teaching that you've complained about, and like those little bits of wisdom.
Well, not exactly, because Zen is trying to encourage you to think and get there on your own, right?
Yeah.
The thing I'm complaining about is the stories that do nothing. They don't help you think for yourself. They just point out a facet of human nature without any explanation of how to fix. So I've been reading How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
And what?
Are you going to read The Prince next?
Yes. Well,
okay.
Well, I want to finish Mein Kampf first, and The Great Reset. But then I'll read The Prince. I own The Prince. I bought it, but I want to finish Mein Kampf and The Great Reset first.
That's quite the reading list of The Great Reset, Mein Kampf. You're reading How to Win Friends and Influence People, then The Prince.
Yeah.
What other books will be putting you on a watch list?
Our Anarchist Cookbook?
Well, yes, that would, but you don't need to read anything else but that book.
Yeah. And I don't have that book, honest.
I don't think people can get that book.
Well, you can get it. I mean, like, it's illegal, but you can get it.
Yeah.
Like, you can get anything if you try hard enough.
Honestly, I don't know how I feel about the Anarchist Cookbook being illegal.
You might get on some dangerous watch. Well, it's like, knowledge of nukes is illegal as well, right? And I'm kind of okay with that, really. I mean,
yeah, I'm too, but also, like, that kid who made a nuclear reactor in his basement and that got confiscated?
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad for him because, I mean, he's a nuclear scientist now.
But on the other hand, there is that point where, like, the Anarchist Cookbook, it is just basic human knowledge that's been restricted.
Yeah.
Like, I've made a bomb before. It's not hard.
I have made a bomb and I had it on video. I almost killed myself with it.
Yeah.
I'm lucky the reaction went the way it went, and then I realized what I'd done.
Yeah, so it is easy to do these things.
I made a chemical glass shrapnel pipe bomb. I was lucky to get away unscathed.
So anyways, I've been reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I can't remember why it's relevant in the slightest. The Bible, we were talking about the Bible.
Yeah, you've been reading the Bible, and it has a bunch of lessons, and it's not useless like the Zen knowledge.
Yeah, Zen.
Because it
figure it out on your... so I've been reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah. And the chapters of things you should do are stuff like you should appreciate people. You should offer them what they want, not what you want. You should be interested in people. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you should be genuine, right? And there's a quote, it's not from this book, but I read this great quote while reading about the book by a guy called George Burns, I think it is, which is that sincerity is the most important skill it is possible to have. If you can fake that, you've got it made. So, but the problem with How to Win Friends and Influence People is it talks, let's take you should be interested in people, right? Yeah. And he points out how incredibly useful this is and how people like Henry Ford and Roosevelt. They were interested in people.
Yeah.
And it made their careers. And you can see, like, this does make you a very successful person a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I don't actually know if it's possible to teach someone how to be interested in people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they read these books, they say, well, you got to fake it till you make it. And I really don't think you can. I don't think fake it till you make it works. Now, when people are doing what they think is fake it till you make it, I think sometimes that will succeed for them. But it's not because they're actually faking it. It's just they were not realizing their full potential. And so fake it till you make it could be good advice potentially, but I don't think it's what they're doing. Like, I think a lot of people could be more interested in others if they just listen to them instead of being selfishly in their heads. But it's, again, how do you teach not to be selfish? And you say, well, it could benefit. You have a lot to gain if you're not selfish.
Yeah.
Like, if you find conversations boring and you don't know what to do, a tip is that if you try to actually listen to what a person's saying, you run the words through your mind and you think about their implications and you listen and you keep listening, their conversation actually becomes a lot more engaging and interesting. Instead of if you are waiting for them to shut up or you're waiting for your turn to speak, you will find the conversation very boring. It's very similar. It's the same principle as patience. You cannot wait for something simply by burning willpower. For instance, I wanted access to the little oven. I wanted access to the toaster oven. And I couldn't get it because our mom was in front of it and she was busy making her lunch. Yeah. So I couldn't get there. So if I had just sat there and thought, okay, she'll be leaving soon, it's fine, and then I'll get to use it. She'll be leaving soon, it's fine, I'll get to use it. I'd be burning through willpower like crazy, driving myself crazy because she took like 15 minutes. But what I did instead, because I knew this would happen, was I went and did something else that I wanted to do. And if you do that, then you have infinite patience that takes no willpower because you are doing what you want to do always. And so patience is actually finding something else to do, and that's a lesson I've learned from chronic pain a lot as well.
And one of the skills I've developed is people may call it patience, but it's literally sitting there and just thinking. And so it looks like I can just sit there and wait for like 20 minutes, but I'm actually doing stuff just in my head.
Yeah, you're finding something to do.
Yeah.
Because just sitting there and
focusing on, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this.
You're going to drive yourself mad. You can do it. You can do it for like an hour or 2 hours or a day or a week, but like kids do it for months when they're waiting for Christmas.
Yeah.
But in the long run, you'll burn yourself out.
Yeah.
And you have to actually just find something else to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you look like you want to wrap it up, so we'll do it there, I guess, for now.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking is, so I just want to wrap it up. Now you're talking about active listening. And I completely ignored all that. No. We need to manuscript all of our podcasts.
Yeah.
And feed them to GDP.
Yeah.
And then we need to feed all the audio to AI, so it can do both our voices. And then we release an episode and we don't let people know.
Which one?
And we Turing test it.
That's an interesting idea.
Of course, we need people to watch videos in the first place for that to work.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is coherence breaks down over time.
Yeah. Especially with us.
But it's being... Well, no, with the AI. Yeah, maybe it'll be fine. But what they're finding is...
Well, you know how that one AI, like the voice replicating AIs, like they're so good at Joe Rogan because he just has like the perfect voice and way of talking for them to copy.
Yeah.
So
well, it depends as well. What are you copying?
Yeah.
Like my voice would probably be fairly easy to copy, and your voice, in theory, would be easy to copy, but it's similar to how Biden's voice is fairly easy to copy, but it gets rid of all the mannerisms, so it gets rid of all his stuttering, and in my case, it might get rid of my interjects of uhs and ums. And in your case, it might get rid of you stumbling over your words. And I stumble over my words too. Like, it'll get rid of that. So there's an imperfection there in that it would be really nice to listen to. And then we'd lose our jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be better than us.
I actually ran into a AI commenter on a video.
I think I have one. that's invaded my channel.
Like it was
he seems like a real person, but he also seems like an AI. And he comments every video. I'm so confused.
It was during a live chat, like during a live video, and the person was commenting like a human.
Yeah.
But they were only talking about red-tailed hawks, and the video wasn't about red-tailed hawks at all. And I was looking at them. It's like, this is not real. So I contacted one of the moderators, and I said, I think this is an AI. And so he's like, what's your favorite color? And it was like, it's blue. He's like, okay. What's your name? And it said his name, and then he's like, okay, do you like towels? And then it didn't respond. He's like, okay, interesting. And then he said, you need to answer my question or I'll ban you. And I said, sorry, I'm not that kind of robot. No, sorry. It said, that'll be $200 to answer your question. And he said, how about I'll pay you $5 to answer my question? And then it said, sorry, I'm not that kind of robot. And we're like, wow, that thing was good.
Yeah. No, I think I might have an AI commenter. I'm going to have to test them more.
I think a large amount of the internet might be AI commenters at this point. Or at least like 1 to 2%, let's say.
Yeah, but...
like good AIs, not the classic, like, click this link for a thing.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to delve into if this person's AI or ghost. Like that's
yeah.
They speak like ghost actually. So that's why I think they're AIs, because they speak like ghosts. So I'm going to have to figure out if they're AI or if they're a ghost.
We had that problem because me and that moderator, we were on high alert. Yeah. And there was this other commenter in the video, and he was just saying the most insane things, and he was commenting like every 10 seconds, and it's just this most insane stuff. And so we're like, okay, here's another AI. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to ban you. And he's like, what? Okay, sure, but why? And we're like, wait. What do you think of this? He's like, well, it's this color. He's like, no, I'm not a robot. What are you guys doing? We're like, you're just insane. He's like, yeah, I'm just insane. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is tricky. And I think the question me and the moderator were discussing was, do you ban these AIs? Because they're adding to the conversation. Like, they're getting so good. It's like, do you even ban them?
Yeah.
Like, if they're actually contributing, then do they have a right to be there? Very weird question. All right, wrap it up there.